motherfuckers so funky. Yo, 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 these niggas here are funky. Yo, 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 these motherfuckers funky. The Zinj, these motherfuckers funky. These motherfuckers Zinj. I know that they need. I know One last change. Hello, him. One last change, and we're good to go. Ish. Still the problem of the people. Hello, Fancy. Okay, that should be right. Is it really just this one? It is. Okay. That's done. Just put them in the same window. What?
I said, could you come back to my room, please, for a minute?
What do you need?
I need you to help me get something in here, some water, and I need you to help me to get something so I can start preparing. They called me. I need to start putting my stuff in my bag.
Of course it chooses to happen the exact moment I decide to try to go live. Why wouldn't it? Okay. How did the Lord Christ make you have sex with men? What? Who enters my audience with statements like that? Now you have to explain it. Yes, this was not the walkie-talkie system I wanted to buy. This paycheck round. This is specifically for me to do my job at home. I need a better walkie-talkie system, but it was very late in the day yesterday, and I could not be fucking bothered to pay an exorbitant amount of money for just them alone after already having bled through their nose for groceries alone. So, I have to buy appliances and shit. Cannot be fucking bothered. Next paycheck. Unless somebody's feeling a little bit generous. I shouldn't joke like that. You ain't getting out of this, Danny Zenia. Drop the deets. How did Jesus make the butt-foot men? All this while I'm writing the tweets. Boom, 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 boom. Don't you worry, Carl. I'll share my tax return to the HOA. Based. I'm still waiting for an explanation about the butt touching. I gave them stage fright. I gave them butt pussy stage fright. Okay. So, assuming Butt Boy doesn't want to give the deets, ladies and gentlemen, boys and goyles, It is currently 3:51 p.m. on a progressive afternoon going into a Sunday evening. I am your eponymous nigga, Single Player Carl. And we are here again on the greatest neighborhood show this side of the shitposting spear. The Yap-In with Carl. Soon, potentially returning to our original chicanery roots. More about that next month. For now, here's the Yap-In episode number 47. How are we doing this weekend? Apparently, y'all ain't doing nothing. But alas, the internet did things, and now we must discuss them. Some more interesting than others. Alas, before we can get to the meat and potatoes of the topics that are at the core of what people want to talk about, we must still do the hard labor job that is our vegetables. But before we go there, allow me to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that should you be tempted to enter the dark side, in every chat room where one wishes to call into the broadcast with your searing, burning questions, all you need to do is pound the number 555, throw them hands. That is 555, throw them hands. Should you not be able to call into the lobby by throwing hands, you can also be able to click the pinned comment in every single live chat room that is currently broadcasting the sound of my sweet dulcet tones. That is Single Player Carl, all platforms, Caramel Cajun on Twitter. Hopefully, this weekend, we don't experience the exact same thing that attempted to take me down last weekend, which was for choosing to spill the sauce about the lol cows. The internet attempted to disable my stream and make it impossible for me to broadcast. Lots of different news is happening and happened this week. For one, we saw the release, finally, of Mouse P.I., a video game that was delayed too many times for a game of its type, and actively decided to spend apparently most of its budget on celebrity voice acting. We also see the release of Pragmata, also known as Bioshock in Space, also known as Dadcore, where thousands of VTubers are having pains in their ovaries because now they want to have cute little daughters. And multiple men are not only being accused of trying to dad max, as they too take care of the robot child, but being accused of pedophilia because allegedly white, specifically white, male men are trying to lolicon max, as not only are they being pedo-jacketed, but they're being lolly-jacketed by none other than the progressives. including one of their own, trying to get into the panties of a young robot. 'Cause reasons. Somehow, when you take the thing and you make it Japan, it becomes pedophile. Despite the fact that the exact same enumerate talking point is the exact same thing that I actively went on campaigns about and actively went on a podcast about. Because allegedly Santa Monica can do no wrong, but only when it's from the feminist longhouse. Also, there are updates about the Ricada drama. There is updates about the hamburger drama, but it is basically that he is continuing to do what he wants to do. People are now noticing that Jeremy Hambly has moved to, or rather has been, stealing shorts, actively purificating them for people's channels, and barely doing any level of work on the content. And of course, Ricada just being a sloppy fucking drunk of a mess. And lastly, a story that I'm bringing up simply because it's also tied to something that I linked to you all in the server already, assuming that you pay attention and are a member of the Negrohood and pay up your timeshare. A WoW private server, several in fact, but one in particular, will be shutting down soon, and will be the subject matter of a month-long excursion by DevCord and by CarlCord. But the server creators effectively decided to do the stupidest thing a person could do in the history of making a game based on somebody else's property rights. And we'll talk more about that once we get to that news story. But alas, should you like the dulcet tones of what we do here on my channel and show, and you would like to be able to do more, please click on the black face to be able to know more. And wherever applicable and accessible, where we sell Carl and Carl-related accessories, consider putting $1 in the bandana on every single platform in which Carl and Carl-related accessories can be found, bought, and sold. No reselling. I'm gonna find you in your sleep. I'm gonna find you in your sleep, and my woman gonna teabag your face. But alas, before we can get there, we have to eat our broccoli and vegetables. However, this time, I actually have good news to bring you. I have good news to bring you. So, last time on Power Rangers Time Force, I told you all about the newest, bluest bullshit straight from Satan's asshole about the taint of his creation that is Marathon. The summarization that I left you with last is that of the people that you are dealing with inside of Marathon, no, it's still dying. It might be dead in the future. But that's not the good news. The information I last gave you, and the summarization that I last gave you, is that Marathon is what happens. You want a bunch of bitch-ass niggas who have spent years victimizing, antagonizing, singling out, and taking advantage of users, go from PvP game to PvP game until they finally arrive at a game that they not only suck dick at, but is one that they can be able to capitalize and bully people in. But much like the chagrin of many MMO ARPG stories are told from the perspective of, especially including the titular one of SAO Abridged and SAO, these players who choose to behave like members of Laughing Coffin, go into your game, go into your culture, and choose to act and present themselves not only like they are a part of that culture, but as though that they are the originators of that culture. And no matter how it happens, whether better or for worse, these wannabe Laughing Coffin members create culture in your video game that outright drain all the fun out of it. Because in the same breath that you can be able to say a person should be gatekept out of gaming situations that they don't belong in, especially if the person is only getting into it not because they actually have a passion to be in the thing, but because it became the new hotness, because the internet decided to make it into a all-you-can-consume rush craze. They outright ruin the game and make it into something that it isn't. Mind you, this is not independent to that just of full loot PvP situations, like that of Marathon. A person who decides to play a online video game that is a MOBA, such as that as League of Legends or Deadlocked, another one that's taking up the craze, for example, as though it's friend slop, by choosing to refuse to understand, accept, or just make up a bunch of rules on their own about how the game ought to be played. Dead by Daylight is another case example that we have covered as well. These people can end up creating an entire nexus of behavior that becomes so well known for the community that it happens to be representative of that it pushes people away from them. Because who the fuck wants to be in a situation where they're constantly cosplaying as a victim? Ranked is dead because Ranked is full of cheaters and hackers. Marathon is not doing anything about them. And the only real fun that you can be able to have is if you only ever play the non-casual queues. Dour situation, especially if you truly bought this game believing that it was going to be something truly unique and transformative and ascendant. And fucking abysmal, if you, like me, are a person who is a content creator that has found himself bored, not just of the game, but also of the culture and the people in it, and how they try to shape conversations around how what they do is completely not obtuse, and not the most bitchless shit this side of Path of Exile. Well, this time, I actually have good news for you. I have good news for you because for the first time, it appears that they are aware of about how dog shit it is, and they are willing to actually solve the problem in this situation. What do I mean by that? Well, right after I update my fucking browser,
a turtle. Wow, I've seen those.
What has come to pass has been the following. Per the last update, directly after the "we will bully people because we don't trust individuals," they have been doing implementations. And in these implementations, they have focused on trying to do the following. Some of the newest things that they're going to be doing, alongside the nerfs, the buffs, the inclusion of a new itemization system, the inclusion of a new shell, the inclusion of Dire Marsh at night, they have been doing experimental queues. Currently, from April 15th to April 29th, which means I still have 10 days to do this before I'm truly free, and we enter into a new content cycle. and we pivot to something different, as the Mirage League is also coming to a close, but really most of us have not really been playing it. I've been inundated with other content with other people in other situations, and most of the people that are in the server that did get onto the server have been inundated with their own things. We've lost Marcus to Marathon, basically. From April 15th to April 29th, they will be adding a sponsor queue. This sponsor queue is effectively Battle Royale. So, what Marathon was sold on the promise of were wannabe laughing, coughing members get to harass you and your gameplay and your experience. What they've done here, hello Callum, is that they have decided to basically do what Fortnite did, and they are now creating the opportunity of something that may potentially become the actual thing that saves Marathon from the current downward spiral that it's caught in. Because if the stories are as we've gone through them, week after week, for the last 4 shows, the game sucks because you are based in queues where other people are taking other people's weapons, trying to cheat with those weapons, trying to glitch those weapons, trying to glitch their cooldowns. And in every situation where you're allegedly on a free kit, you're getting dominated and fletch grenaded in a grenade corridor by a team of 3, and you are then being told, get shit on, little buddy, when you literally don't know what to do. Where allegedly the thing that the game needs to be balanced around isn't loot value, but is instead level queues, because this is the current system that's in place. It is a combination of playlist lobby making as well as level matchmaking queues, which is where people then justify saying, yes, I can use these evil, devious tactics, because these higher level players are just completely different, which completely salaciously and fallaciously sells the idea that there is such things as skill floor and a skill ceiling. They are going to be instituting a 0 to hero progression for what effectively is a free white tier sponsored kit rush of Dire Marsh. You can only be able to come into this queue. I believe it's not when you have a loot value of 0, but only when you have a inventory value of 0. So you can only enter in if you have a free sponsor kit. You can only go in with a free sponsor kit. No higher gear is ever allowed. You must go from the sponsor kit to items that you upgrade finding in run. It is available for duo with no fill, or with trios with pre-mades and crew fill, with the queue being selectable via Dire Marsh sponsored. For all intents and purposes, the way that this is implemented, the way that it is described, this is literally Battle Royale. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. In the overall design of this full loot PvP experience that was sold as an extraction shooter, this is Battle Royale. But it's actually probably the most balanced form that this should be forced around, that actually demonstrates potentially the actual real skill in the real core loot value and looping that the game was meant to be built on, from the mouth of Ziegler himself. It is based, within dev testing, on early game gear balancing the economy, low gear combat pacing, so one does not expect to be fucking goo-gunned from halfway across the map. You go from a progression of being weak, with your overrun ARs, or whatever the fuck Mida has, to being fully geared, both off of things that were found in loot rooms, as well as what you found off dead bodies. And that has a better overall match flow, and an overall technical performance that is good. Duos are currently being developed as a full feature, pending the intro into Season 2. But when it comes to these experimental queues, which there will be more of in the future, there can only ever be one experimental queue active at a time. I don't know why it can only be one ever. This is apparently what Ziegler wants. This is the only thing of valuable news that has come out about marathon that isn't the same shit as before. So, to explain and break this down, we're going to be looking at a couple of things that are being said by Ziegler himself directly from his page. Starting with, matchmaking is a complex series of wires and circuits trying to connect players to give them the best time to match while providing quality matches. In that complex nest of things, we found a bug related to regional matchmaking that is affecting a very small set of players that is unintentionally putting them in matches they're not meant to be in. We're going to be prepping a fix on 421 to be able to fix this. Thanks for helping us find this. We'll be working on smoothing it out. So many people complain saying, why is there no skill-based matchmaking? Stop listening to players on every single issue that they're not devs on. They're going to complain about things and never be satisfied with what you do. They're going to thank you now and complain next week on something else. Please trust your gut. Just make the game that you want. Just make the game that you want. Keep in mind, Ziegler is the game director. He is the former game director of Valorant, so he understands most of the things that he's trying to do for the health of the game. For example, they are making an update to WSTR shotguns because the, quote, meta, in his own words, requires that we are going to be taking a shot at bringing the WSTR more in line. Right now, it has become a dominant weapon and is eclipsing a lot of the other short-range options that exist in the game. So, as of Tuesday, the same day at 421, likely at the same time that they're patching the thing that I just told you about, the WSTR will no longer be able to down an enemy player who has blue shields or above with 2 shots. The ideal is that in a majority of cases, this will force a reload in scenarios where the target has a blue shield, allowing for more counterplay in these scenarios, so that a person doesn't just simply get completely killed by the fact that one guy has a sniper rifle and the other guy has a shotgun, and that person's playing Thief, and they try to use their Thief zip, and they still keep trying to use the Thief exploit to zip to your position, and then bang bang in your chest, and there's nothing you can do about it. Doesn't matter if it's shotgun plus bully, doesn't matter if it's some type of battle rifle plus the shotgun. It is some combination that people are being forced to take shotguns, which then created the rise of the bubbles, which then created the rise of the Phoenix Downs, which then created the rise of the melee knife builds to counter the bubbles because they were getting tired of having to deal with people who wouldn't step into the bubble pussies. The change is going to go live on Tuesday. It can still grant down a green shielded target with 2 direct shots at short range. It will no longer be able to down a blue and above shielded target with 2 shots at short range, while they're still looking at other things that they want to bring in line. Same thing here with the CyberArk new protocol for carry, which includes weapon adjustments, award passes, runner shell tuning with recon, earnable arachne shell types because they didn't have earnable arachne shell types as a part of the cosmetics for some upgrades, as well as the Cyber Acme Runner Reinforcement Initiative, CARRY, that allows a new protocol from ONI that rewards solo runners and coordinated crews for completing contract objectives and exfilling together, with rewards tuned to help newer and mid-progression players while still offering benefits to Crow Archive veterans that are walking amongst the people. With all these commendations and rewards being things that are bringing people interested into the game to focus on other things. Carry on that in a moment. However, on the explanation of Free Kit Frenzy Experimental Q, Dire Marsh sponsored. Thank you to everybody who participated in the new experiments we've had over the past few weeks. We're currently working on making duos a real feature in Sequel 2, and diligently working on delivering all of that to you that wish to eagerly await its return. For experimental queues, it is a time-limited queue that allows us to preview features in development with you. So, that means this Dire Marsh sponsored series is something that they are developing in queue. They are attempting to bring Battle Royale into Marathon as a way to alleviate the constant vicious cycle of haves versus have-nots. It really is the case of when, in case of Dead Gang, break trending game mode class. It actually is. The experimental queue is a time-limited queue that allows us to preview features in development with you, often with a less-than-complete feature set. This allows the Marathon development team to learn and obtain feedback that helps us deliver a more completed feature set down the line. For the sake of queue health, we only run one experimental queue at a time. Once you've learned enough to understand our next steps in the future, we start work on finalizing the feature and move to the next experiment. Your participation in any experiment is greatly appreciated and is helpful for us for developing features down the line. So, for the example of the next experiment, what happens when you bring a knife to a knife fight? For our next experiment, starting Wednesday at 4:15, 10 a.m. PT, we'll be enabling the Dire Marsh sponsored queue. This experimental queue is focused on learning a bit more about our early game ecosystem. Within this queue, all players enter with a free sponsored kit and will be challenged to use what they find in Dire Marsh to upgrade themselves and get out. Details below. For approximately 2 weeks, we will be running it from the 15th to the 29th. We may change the end timing depending on anything we discover on the way that may warrant us to make an adjustment, either shortening or lengthening the queue time. You will only be eligible to enter when you and your queue have a free sponsored kit that is white tier equipped. You can enter as a pre-made duo with crew fill off, a pre-made trio, or a crew fill into a trio. The queue will only be for the Dire Marsh zone. To enter this queue, you can select Dire Marsh sponsored from the zone list. What they will be observing and looking to understand is how the game plays out with low fixed set gear conditions and caps, and how the zero to hero playstyle works in low starting gear conditions and its caps, as well as any technical issues that arise. There are many other changes and additions coming in on Wednesday, 4:15 PT, that will be happening as well, so stay tuned for them from the Marathon Discord and all across the social channels for Marathon the Game and Marathon Dev Team. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your passion and all the commitment you've provided to us and helping us learn more to evolve Marathon. Not gonna lie, Dire Marsh sponsored sounds interesting as hell. Everybody starting on equal footing. May the best team loot kill win. We'll be there. Bring it. Rah! Repping Mida. If I get to try a sponsored kit on the next day, I'm gonna scream. This sounds real fun. Can't wait to try it. I do like this experiment, but you all need to appeal to the solos. This might be a good way to do that by ensuring filling people up while bringing in the same quality gear. People saying that it's a case of slopathon. This is awesome because I can do all my Dire Marsh quests without losing hella shit, getting sniped from the middle of the map with thermal outland. My gut tells me that the loot on the map isn't meaningful enough to make me want to regularly engage with this. Not sure I want to fight wardens and do lockdowns with a white shield. Maybe it's good for faction quests or something. Everybody on the level playing field, as that aside. Kind of hoping that as the season progresses, loot gets buffed on each map across the board. And then, a question that stuck out to me, that I want to posit to those in the audience that have the ability to answer this, if they think they can. Howdy, Mr. Ziegler. I have a question. Have you guys thought about possibly limiting what kind of loot can go into a starting map like Perimeter? It's something that I was talking about with a couple of buddies of mine, and I noticed that a lot of high tier teams will come into Perimeter and use it as target practice on newer players. Once again, validating the thing that people kept claiming would never happen, that I kept showing multiple times, kept happening. Neordamus. I understand there's a hardcore experience trying to cultivate, but I think it would be interesting in places like Perimeter if lots of new players started and had a "don't you think you're too looted to be here" system. Like, say, the highest value level of shield you can have is a blue, or any loadout past a certain value you can't go in. Kind of like the reverse of what you have on Cryo. I think it'd be able to ease a lot of starting pains that new players have. I'd love to know your opinion. And then, of course, all of the opinions were, I don't like this idea. I've been yelling on Twitter for days about this idea. That's what a literal new game mode is for. All this would do is further segregate the population. That's what this limited mode is supposed to do. This is retarded. This game has 6 players total. Nah, because if you get the drop on the right team, you can grab amazing loot. Don't cap the maps. So, I'm going to scan the opinions I see from the lobby. The first opinion I see, it's a paid battle royale mode then. I mean, Gearbox did this with Borderlands 3 with Arms Race, and it wasn't bad, but players quickly found out the point of it being in-game loot builder for max-level characters. It's more like you are getting an experimental queue for a fortnight where you are going to be facing everybody on equal footing. You are going to be given the opportunity to run as a solo player in a crew-filled squad, or in any various amount of 3-stack squad, or in any various amount of duo-stack squad with no crew fill, the chance to be able to fight people without getting shit on by all the high-tier loot and equipment people went into Cryo Archive to then bring out and say, no, bro, you gotta understand, bro, I can just kill you with this goo gun, bro. It's completely legal, bro. and thus it allows people to actually focus on the part of the game that is actually important. The core philosophy that is the exact same as it is to every other Battle Royale, especially those like Eternal Return, making it more in line with BR features that come from things such as Fortnite, and getting people to actually engage in the core game loop. Meaning, they no longer say, the part of the game that's the fun part that I like playing is the part where I'm not going to let you play the video game. Which is very similar to what people do inside of fighting games. Because the goal of most people in those fighting games, as well as most MOBAs, is to remove any and all counterplay that you have against what they're doing, so that they can win the match and you can't. In the circumstances of a FPS game, pair? Did you mean to say paid or pair? So paid. For entity. Okay, so paid. In my opinion, and in my estimation, this is probably, in my serious, honest opinion, what Marathon should have been from the beginning. Marathon should have been a battle royale with various levels of zones where you can go in, and there is an expectation that you can go in with a free kit, or you can go in with your loot. If you go in with your loot, you go into lobbies where you go in with people who are also going in with their own loot. If you go into a zone with a free kit, you're going to face players that are also playing on free kits. This was the intimation that I thought that the game should have had from the beginning. If it is the case that they develop what is currently a test that will eventually become a forward-facing future feature that they then implement into the game, rather than implementing SBM matchmaking, or implementing some kind of loot value restriction, which is very similar to the ones that I talked about having before, where you limit and restrict the people that can go into certain maps or certain loot values, or you start restricting them not to loot values for the version of the map they want to be on the playlist for, but instead low roller, high roller, mid roller rooms. You correct the problem itself and allow people to actually be able to engage in the part of the game that is actually fun, which is the ability to go from 0 to hero. Because the main thing inside of a loot run is that if I cannot go from 0 to hero, I am being punished for the crime of not being stronger than the other guy. Which, considering what we've been doing, that I don't know what to tell you. That's the only thing I can think of that will save the game. If it's the case that they gotta make a paid BR in order to make this game good, then point and laugh at them as every other video game that had to follow the suit and making the game into a balanced form of Battle Royale demonstrates that this is what happens when you allow an unbalanced piece of garbage to hit the goddamn streets. And yes, that is the main issue and the problem of Marathon that makes it boring. There's nothing to do, and 9 times out of 10 you feel like you're in an empty map. The majority of the gameplay is based on full loot PvP. The fun part is killing other players and taking specifically elongated fights against them, and then learning how to manipulate and to adapt to situations where you're dealing with those multiple situations that are being caused by the pressure of other players trying to affect you at the same time that you're playing. The rush of killing somebody in a duel and then having to get the fuck out of dodge so that I can be able to survive, because if I don't get out of the situation, I can't loot the body of the dead person I just killed who tried desperately to run away from me like a little pussy that thought he could be able to hide around corners and hide in corners and camp to survive while I'm being surrounded by all the USC that he pulled, because he didn't think about pulling the trigger first because he thought that he'd be able to get away doing it. And the other issue, which is that most of the shells were designed for team play, not for solo play. So, they also have to decide, while they're doing this test, how do they truly feel about the solo player environment? And as demonstrated from the last post that we will be getting into next, their viewpoint is that they don't want to abandon solo players like myself, but they also aren't making a specific playlist queue for players like myself. The entire game itself is flipped on its head if you attempt to use team-based skills in a single-player environment for yourself, versus being an assassin and constantly assassinating people with knife builds that are meant to do 2-shot, 1-shot damage with little to no counterplay. through shields. It's a night and day difference of a general problem that needed to be answered, and we don't see what the full answer of it is yet, because, of course, Season 2, it'll all change in Season 2, instead of changing now, instead of gradually over time where they decide it's finally answered. Ultimately, my shit's getting jittered. Ultimately, the simple problem is that if you compare this, dollars to donuts, to a PvP environment, to a PvE environment, Helldivers 2 doesn't have this problem, because Helldivers 2 is incremental and progressive in its skill difficulty and its accessibility to the regular common user. Just because a person could be a cadet, dropped into a lobby full of 150s, with everything locked out, everything maximized to its effective value for the zone that they're going into, does not mean that a little Skippy can't pull out that fucking rocket launcher and put targets downrange. The excitement is created by the fact that they're effectively playing inside of a sandbox. And in that sandbox, that is where the fun is had. The same comparative difference cannot be said for Marathon because it was designed around other people. It's like going into a Halo 3 multiplayer battle arena and seeing how empty it feels when there isn't enough people there. Or for that matter, High Guard. It is an experience that needs people. They are still losing 20% of their players every single week. This is no longer a thing that the shill accounts can be able to say, oh, they just talk about all the time. They know that they're losing player counts at this point. They can't defend it no more. In fact, currently at the time of this writing, the current number of the game's last dipped to 1,000. But that, of course, you could say was because it was on the day of a patch. But we're still looking at the same proponent problem. Marathon's stats look like this, and Arc Raider's stats look like this. There is no excuse for why they are faltering as hard as they are. The game is not healthy. They know the game is not healthy. Even if the outside dev team doesn't say anything directly about it, they understand that their low 5-figure, now approaching 4-figure game on what's supposed to be premier primetime weekend, because the dips are literally based around those time periods. They understand that those dips happening during that time of day is when the majority of content creators should be online playing it, if any at all. And those regular players, that are those regular niggas, clocking in, coming off work, trying to go in, trying to get some games, they are almost always in trios. They are almost never in duos. They're almost never in singles. And if that is the number that we're seeing, and that is the projection of the numbers that we are experiencing, it is the case that Ziegler is aware of how this is affecting them. And so they have tried to create a new system and new updates to bring us there, which then brings us to the carry system. But to touch on it, even then, it's not going to make the shells be conchued, because even since most of them are for team play, it's going to push more movement tech because, well, I don't want to waste my time. Soon you're going to see a Zippy Assassin run sliding their way to the legendary gear, and it's going to create the whole problem of the have versus have not. So very similar to the example that I can give with Deadlocked, but the one I'll keep using is the example of Guns the Duel. Those that refuse or cannot learn the technique of wave dashing / the slide cancel are going to be the people that are going to get victimized by those that know it or gatekeep the information, thus creating the unfun experience that should not be a part of the game loop. Meanwhile, look over at Eternal Return. They don't have that problem, because it was a full battle royale from the start. In fact, when it comes to the actual health of the game, these numbers are going to look horrible. They're going to look horrible, but they're not horrible. in the total preponderancy of the game in its time period, considering the fact that the North American players are playing in servers that are also populated by Korean players, the week-by-week health and the overall time period health of the game reflects itself actually to the peak that it's supposed to for the people that are playing it. It has a healthy timeline that does not reflect the same problems, because of course they answered these problems very early. You can see this with the reference point from when the game went into early access, to when it was released on Steam, to when Season 1 happened in 2021, and this very big drop-off that happened during the time period where the game mode was based around Lone Wolf, 2-on-2, and 3-on-3, where 3-on-3 was considered to be an outlier, and everybody was only ever playing Lone Wolf. Getting your head popped on by a Jackie who puts their foot right up your ass and bleeds you before you can fight back. An Adon, an Alex, a Carla, any of the characters that I choose to use, especially Piccolo, finding you, isolating you, putting you in a room, and fucking you in the hotbox. Raw. Nakadashi. Raw. And tell you, you belong to me, you're my woman, that pussy belongs to me. Oh yes, daddy. That whole experience stopped around Season 3 and change. And since Season 4 onwards, the numbers have been healthy. Sunset, Lucky, Legion. Season 7 I don't think had a proper name. Season 8 I don't think had a proper name. Season 9 was when they got a major update and they started doing theming around folk time. Season 10 is Royale, with the punny skins. And then, on the back half of Season 10, the Persona 5 collab, and all the other collabs that happened during that period. The actual history of the game's peak, with its number count being 34k, I'm rounding down, not up, dropping to 12k-ish, was because, wow, this game is so fun, but you know what's not fun? Getting shit on by top tiers. So they started introducing more players, introducing more characters, creating the ranked scene, and it was able to stabilize, and then you had some people drop off of it, but they still stayed within a relative number scale. And they have never dipped below a 5-figure number. The only time in which they go under that number is when you're talking about the time period of playing it within months. Realistically, it stays consistent. But on a day-to-day basis, people are not online because ranked populates based on who's actually playing in prime time. So the way to read this, normal games, prime time ranked. Prime time ranked, prime time ranked, everybody's asleep. Ranked, asleep. Ranked, asleep. This was a patch, ranked, asleep. Ranked, asleep. Ranked, asleep. Ranked, asleep. Normal matches are still happening throughout the day. But when people are online like right now, today is a Sunday, most of the people are going to be on and they're going to be inside of ranked around 7 p.m. You should see this reflected on the chart, based on the number of GMT -4. Right here. As you approach 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is when the peak time of rank picks up. So, it is the case that Marathon needs to basically make themselves into a regular Battle Royale. They have to find a way to make the game interesting. And the only way to make the game interesting is that people either need to truly engage in the part of the game that they have told themselves they're not going to do, or actively rewire the brain of every single Marathon player who's currently playing right now and turn them from Laughing Coffin members and not turn them into nevertheless French slop shitposting players that decided the best part of games like Deadlocked is the part where they make never-ending jokes about how they focus on how they were fucking somebody in the micro-play of a team fight and not the macro-play of the whole game itself in the bigger picture. And the reason why is simple. I don't even have to be a developer to tell you that. And it's because The way that Ziegler designed the game is not the way that these people want to play the game. We've said this thousands of times before, but I'm going to say it again for posterity before we move forward. And then read the carry section. The game of Marathon is not fun when you are trying to both learn the game map and explore the world, and the moment that you don't check a corner, your run is dead and over. With no buyback system. No penalty system. It is why Eternal Return has a day 3 buyback system. It's why inside of Lone Wolf you at least get 2 reset lives. It's why in team play you get those same lives spread across the team, and then you have to get buybacks and use strategic setup to survive long enough to get the chance to be in the final 2 teams that face off for the first role. It is not fun if your match immediately ends, and then you gotta spend all that time looting up, going back in again, and then agonizing about gear fear. Because what it means is that you're going into an experience where you're being told, this is your lifeline. Your life is your loot value. Your loot value is 0, and you keep getting zeroed out by other people who are just better than you. And then eventually, once they have a significant lead on you, you are the haves versus the have-nots. It's the real fucking epistemic and economic struggle that it sounds like. Because if we're being pessimistically clean, and we're using good thinking, not bad thinking, being epistemically fully clean means that we don't say, oh, the reason why they're sucking is because they're just shittier players. No. It's because they don't get enough time to learn the layout of the map before they get their fucking card punched. They don't get to learn the layout of Cryo themselves, as a group, individual, alone. They have to learn from somebody making a full-bodied guide who has the time and the ability and the opportunity to make it. For the same reason that inside of a game like that of ER, or inside of an experience like that of League of Legends, or inside of an experience like that like OSRS, or in an experience like that, unironically, literally, exactly like that of fucking Helldivers 2, a person who doesn't have the capacity to do what I did for my guide series are going to say, well, why should I bother learning this? Because the way that they look at the game, they're going to decide, oh, I don't want to actually play the game as the game. I want to play the game as something else. Don't play League of Legends for the ability to actually play the game mode and get better. Go into League of Legends and treat it like it's a fucking resource extractor. Your goal is to cosplay in your top lane, mid lane, bottom lane, jungle, support role, etc. Or worse, your ability to enjoy the game comes from preventing somebody else's game. So, in the spirit of fighting games, where you can only blame yourself and nobody else, somebody else gets to shut your game down, because rather than starting from 0 and just demonstrating that they're just better and that there's things that you can learn, it instead feels like there's an entire gap and margin between you and everyone else. And what's the point in putting in the time and putting in the effort and putting in the skill if you can't move like a top tier Eternus player and Deadlocked as who you are as a player without them showing you the content line that you can do and hit in order for you to be good? Now that we cover that, let's get into the new protocol. Marathon's mid-season update. It's coming out today. Meaning weapon adjustments, new pass additions, runner shell tuning, recon. We've got you. Because recon was bad. Especially in the single player concept. Veritable arachne shells, new equipment, and other updates. Read full details in today's patch notes. As part of the update, we're introducing the Cyber Acme Reinforcement Initiative. the new protocol that allows for them to allow new solo runners and coordinated crews to be rewarded for completing contract objectives and exfilling. You earn commendations for your successes, and then spend the new material at Carry Armory to unlock weapons, reputation packs, which grant reputation for the associated factions, and more. The Parry Protocol will run from the launch of the mid-season patch through to the end of Season 1. Runners who work together to survive will be rewarded Acme Commendations, a new currency to spend in the Carry Armory. When you play in a crew with other players, whether pre-made or filled, you get commendations for each contract objective that you help them complete. If you are a solo runner or a Wook, you'll have some notable opportunities to get commendations to call your own, with solo runners getting commendations by completing any individual contract objectives, and Rooks both earning commendations upon a successful solo exfil. Do you want to do some risky on-the-fly diplomacy? As a solo player or a Rook, you earn extra commendations when you exfil with other players, regardless if it is a Rook, a runner, or a full crew. Additionally, there is a new trinket of enhanced rarity that can drop in all zones, which rewards Cyber Acme commendations every time you exfil with it, with commendations being sent directly to your vault upon extraction that stack up to 100. So, after reading that paragraph, this is them trying to push the game to be like Arc Raiders. They're putting it through as it's an experiment until the end of Season 1. There's no way a person can read this paragraph and not hear them say, we want you to be more friendly. 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 Them niggas are not going to hear that shit. They're not going to hear that shit. That's a nice idea. They're not going to hear you. They're going to shoot them in the face still. Or in the back. The new Carry Armory, available in Cyber Acme, allows players to exchange Cyber Acme commendations for rewards, like a rotating selection of weapons, salvage crates that grant a random stack of salvage, or reputation packs that grant reputation for their associated faction, amongst other rewards. Salvage crates and sponsor kits restock fresh daily, while other carry offers do not refresh, so keep an eye out for them every day. We're introducing a few things to support you working with your crews, form uneasy alliances, and bonus experience for new runners. New feature, Stay Together. Stay Together is an end-of-run option that allows you to stay with the runners you successfully exfilled with by creating a new crew with them. Only one crewmate needs to successfully exfil for Stay Together to be available. New consumable, Mercy Kit. Sometimes you shoot first and ask questions later. If you down an enemy, but think there's a potential to turn them into an ally, you can now use a Mercy Kit to revive them. Only runners that have been downed can be revived with a Mercy Kit. Once they have been fully eliminated, you cannot help them. Mercy Kits cannot be used on your allies or yourself. All Rooks spawn with a Mercy Kit by default. There is a new toggled open proximity chat option, so that it's easier to speak and agree with other players on your terms, or easier for them to be able to have a toggled open proximity chat function so they can start calling you slurs and saying how they're going to rape you and to get back here and get what's coming to you. There's a new set of collaborative objectives to unlock a new pace setter title. They are primitive additions and will be completed in future seasons. And until the end of Season 1, new players will get a 15% boost to reputation earned by Cyber Acme and New Caloric for their first 5 ranks. Additionally, Perimeter Beginner has been adjusted to better accommodate new players. The map will be available as a solos only map to runner level 12 for those that prefer a bit of safety as they initially navigate Tau Ceti. So, literally an implementation of the exact suggestions that I made. They up the level cap to 12, not to just after you've completed your first starter contracts. Negro Damas, Negro Damas, Negro Damas. Ooh. With update 0, is 106 being live. Our mid-season update has much more to offer, like a new depleted self-revive kit for solo runners, a new weapons chip and self-implants to support collaboration, and more. If you want to know all about what's coming, you can read the full mid-season patch notes here. Good luck out there, players. And that is the end of the updates. So, they want you to be friendly players. They want you, at least until the end of the season, to try to cooperate, rather than shoot first, ask questions never, and then tell them, suck my cock, zip it up when you're done. They want you to try extracting with other people, because now there is an incentive to not murdering the guy. Unless it's just about sending a message. It's all the wannabe Laughing Coughing members. And, should push come to shove, they are testing a mode so that you go in with only the things that you found and hoping that you go in with people with this feature, you'll learn to make new friends with the people that you're playing with. Rather than just getting killed, killing, possibly losing or winning, and then just ignoring those people and going next. They are trying to push socialization. I don't see it happening. Because these players that you're dealing with, that we have been discussing all this time, are not social people. They're not socialites. And when I say they're not socialites, I don't mean, oh, well, you see, they're just really rough around the edges and they don't have the ability to properly be able to interact with other people. No. These are antisocial people. These are antisocial people who choose to play a social, competitive video game the same way people that are currently playing Deadlocked decide to play a social, competitive video game and treat it like it's friend slop. As long as they continue to have the same mindset, as long as they continue to behave the same way, this shit is not changing. It's not changing. It is not changing. It's a good addition. It's a great start. These are great changes. This is really good news. It's probably not going to change the ending. Probably not. No, not at all. Moving on. It is with a heavy heart that I have to explain and tell you about the never-ending crap that is the information about Pragmata. Those of you who watched the video already know what I had to say about Pragmata being lolly-jacketed. Now we're going to actually get into the story and the example that came from the thumbnail. So, there is a video game being released, that has been released, called Pragmata. It is BioShock in space. You play as a white bear who gets injured and is taken care of and watches over a small automaton program that has a leet speak name and designation that then gets penned into the name Diane, or Diana, by player character Hugh. Was made to pander to pedophiles. There are 4 groups at play here. Those of you that remember my December 4th viral broadcast, viral not because it was popular, but because that shit was cancer, to argue with this against somebody trying to deny this. Made up of these 4 groups. Pastel Flags, Watermelon Enjoyers, the Lolly Enjoyers, that I'm going to call the Cunny Squad, because that's what they are. They're lolicons and shutacons that love cunny. Spelled C-U-N-N-Y, that are the originators of the whoa meme, and regular niggas that wanted to play a video game. Group 1 and Group 2 are slandering Group 4 as if they represent Group 3. And to give the devil its due, Group 3, while annoying, do not belong to Group 4. So Groups 1 and 2 are antagonizing Group 4 for the actions and behavior of Group 3, who, despite their involvement in the story, are completely separated from all of the conversations being had about the subject matter and the topic. It is the case that these individuals literally are just off in their own universe, over here on the side, and the antics that they do get slandered onto the fourth group. If the fourth group attempts to disagree with this, they will receive a similar level of browbeating and shaming by those that are doing the work on behalf of being handmaidens for the feminist longhouse and their political points and their point of political game ground, where they are making pragmata into a political ground. You either have the correct political opinion or you're a chud that likes raping little girls. That is the viewpoint that the progressives and the hyper-political have decided to make in the wake of the game launching. They hit the ground running, calling you pedophiles. There is backup information behind this. I discussed it in my video. To summarize, back in February, the Pragmata subreddit was taken down because the lolicons wouldn't stop posting the Cunny posting. Because, of course, they saw a little girl and they said, when can I be able to expect the mods? I need her big booty naked, spreading them butt cheeks, clapping ferociously, oiled up, skinny, in front of my camera. As it says in the screenshot here, posted by regular dumb shit Alexander Haley, Xanderhall. Now, despite the fact that scrolling all the way up is kind of giving it away, as you scroll down, you realize that the account in question that is being called, quote, the lolly that is allegedly being used to demonstrate that, hey, don't let these chuds trick you. This person's account is a left-winger. They are, in fact, a pastel flag lover. They are, in fact, a 32-year-old, he/him, transgender, that blocks bigots and demands that they do not interact. That is a lolicon enjoyer. Xanderhall, in his need to be right, in his use of sign language, with shame, insult, and guilt, basically demonstrated that Groups 1 and Groups 2 will not call out their own. And they assume that all people that are lolicons belong to the right wing, despite the fact that there are lolicons in the right wing, but there's way more of them in the left wing. Because left wing, leftist progressives are fucking crazy people. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. However, the importance of this story lies in the fact that the original summary is that they said, how dare you play this video game that's about a wholesome relationship between a girl and a father proxy. This is clearly pedophilia. If you enjoy this, you're weird and need to go into jail and have your hard drive checked. As I said in my video, how is this game any different to any other video game that had a father-daughter, father-son, mother-daughter, mother-son relationship proxy like that of all of the narrative video games made by the big AAA blockbuster games of all time, if not within the last 15 years? How is this game any different than The Walking Dead? How is this game any different than Dad of Boy? How is this game any different than the original God of War, especially with the entire storyline around Pandora in God of War 3? How is this game any different than Bioshock 1, Bioshock 2, Bioshock Infinite in the relationship between Booker and his literal infinitesimal dimensional daughter? How Is this any different? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is of course the same cope it is every single time. When it's Sony of America, it's all good in the hood. When it's weird place Japan, no, Japanese people, they poo-poo stinky. Ooh, no, they like fucking kids. Oh, no, weird people. Ooh, octopus woman being fucked by octopus or over roiling wave of the rising sun. Ooh. Literally, Santa Monica good, Japan bad. Now, this is actually an important thing to have to discuss. However, something that came up on the other side of the interim of this conversation. People getting mad about Mrs. Mexoplices, the spear hunter, Sue Lightning, being a former transgender porn star, turned shill for Capcom. And how dare you choose to have a person with a family-friendly adjacent video game that isn't actually family-friendly adjacent because it's rated PEGI 16 and it's meant to be for a mature audience? How could you put them on? How could you have them as a part of how could you have them part of a live stream trying to feature the words of the game? This here is a nothing burger. This is people in search of a problem to stick on Troonshine. So, to break that down as simple as I can for the people who somehow missed the point that I just fucking made. Complaining that a person that does business with a company is doing business for the company is not a fucking problem. A person going online and lying to you about the actual demographic of people playing a video game, and then turning around and saying, well, who's the video game being catered to? What's the demographic? What's the demographic? Only for you to now realize it's not about the demographic. It's about the appeal, and it is about who is interested in the demographic as a paying customer, not the gender demographic. That is important. It is the same logic and the same narrative I dealt with on my December 6th debate. It is the exact bullshit, dog shit, longhouse rhetoric that allegedly men are bad and evil and cruel and wicked, and they only want to be able to control somebody. Oh, white males would love to protect a child only because that child looks like an adult woman. They look like an adult woman with adult woman teeth. They look so strange and so weird. They specifically want them to be their infinite daughter. Big booty butt cheeks all over the screen. Big booty butt cheeks all on my timeline. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. God damn, why is it so big? We gotta put a like on that one. But let me get to my timeline where this post was being posted by another person who had the exact same analysis that I did about the situation. Right here. Oh, yes. The only reason why you guys want to be all for this character, the only reason why you love this character so goddamn much, is because they look like an adult They look like an adult woman. They're an adult woman. You only have parental instincts for a child that has the model of a woman's face plastered on it. You don't really want to look at this person like they're a grown adult. No, you only want to be able to protect the adult that you see. You don't want to protect a real child with a real child's face. You pedophiles! 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 And alas, I ask you, as the people attempt to tell us that we are oversimplifying paraphilias, and that pedophilia is about the exploitation of the innocent and the vulnerable, you'll understand that they gravitate towards a mix of innocence and adult, mature aesthetics. with the character looking like they just crawled out of an episode of TLC's Toddlers and Tiaras. With people attempting to tell me that, actually, this is, you guys being intentionally obtuse, actively pretending to be dumb, men weaponized incompetence, media literacy. Both of these two things happening at the same time has been giving me a migraine behind my left eye. Because it is the same dog shit opinions, repeating themselves over and over again infinitely, ad infinitum, through infinite retards, that cannot tell the difference between, returning to the subject matter at hand, one, a person who is allegedly being told, how dare you be a part of it, but is instead the actual reality, coming from, yet again, friend of the channel, and nigga online, who knows ball, Decembro, breaking it down, very simple. The problem is not even focused on Spear Hunter. It's focused on Capcom, who have been banning mods for showing too much skin. By the way, no, not Diana mods. We're talking Resident Evil women and men, Leon Cock, for example. But at the same time, will partner with a former sex worker because of the magical progressive passport. It's bullshit virtue signaling. Stop banning mods that harm nobody, that are their niche thing anyways, and people won't care about the company working with porn actresses. Don't forget, it's not even the US that imposes this line of thinking in the first place. It is them. It is the companies that bought into the whole bullshit of optics and values of what can and can't be said, who they should and shouldn't partner with, and what is and isn't appropriate for fan content to be made of. Setting the rules for themselves, shit that we didn't ask for them in the first place, and then when they break them, people calling them out on their bullshit, or actively trying to incentivize the breakdown. Hi, Nick. Incentivize the breakdown, asking for them to implicate the exact same drama again. This happened with Soul Ash 2. This happened with Kingdom Come Deliverance. This happened with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This happened with every single video game that had this kind of problem in general. Especially that, including the slop that came down the line with the constant back and forth between censorship of outfits like the vagina bones with any anime game, but especially that came from Tokyo Mirage Session, and it's saving from the Wii U console onto Switch with Encore, and most definitely and most expeditiously the bullshit that was done back and forth with Stellar Blade. We are not concerned. It is not a problem. We are not concerned. It is not a problem. People are pretending that it is a problem because they do not want to discuss the actual issue that is at hand. And people that have a stick up their ass that don't like seeing Spear Hunter, yes, she's very annoying. So is fucking, like, so to me is goddamn Maximilian Dude. Yes, it's really annoying seeing them in a room with Kenny Omega and the voice and motion capture that they have for Lady Dimitrescu, basically telling you whenever they need to, hey guys, go buy the Capcom games. They're on sale now. It's really fucking annoying to hear people try to drum up fucking takes and opinions about fucking Spear Hunter like it's the same thing as an unironic fucking attack campaign that is monetizing SEO engagement so that when search engine optimizations come around and they look up Pragmata, all they see is porn, Lolicon, porn, scapegoat, and nothing about the goddamn game! It's a fucking headache. I'm over it. And of course, even though I did list those 4 groups, there is a 5th group that is tangentially completely removed, that is looking at people who are playing this game, completely removed from the discourse, and removed from the drama in the discourse, and are saying, nigga, what the fuck are y'all just talking about? It's just a good game! But what makes it a good game? Of course. Other than the fact that it's fun to interact with Diana, I'm gonna call her Little D. First there was Lady D, and she wanted to peg you in the butt, and you wanted to slap her booty, butt cheeks, wild, oiled up. And now there's Little D, who melts your heart and looks exactly like a robot version of Riley from Inside Out. Little D is a fun character to interact with because everything that you do with her inside of your little cubby hole, hidey hole, that you're in for the majority of the game, is basically like a little clubhouse that you build with her. Your save file updates based on the content that you're doing with her and the areas that you've gone to. That is all I will tell you about that as a spoiler. So everything you do in the game is reflectant of you basically playing in a very big AAA sandbox to the tune of $60. Feels more like an elevated $40 game. I don't think it's worth the money that people are paying for it, but that's not to say that it's not a good game to play. People are enjoying the elevated gameplay content of basically playing what is supposed to be the AAA's edition of Banjo-Kazooie, combined with a hacking minigame in the middle of your FPS gunplay combat. So, for those that want to see it as something different, you could say it's if Dead Space allowed you to become a dad to a small little hacker robot that takes the form of a small white girl that allows you to simulate being a dad while also playing with the Dead Space 1 plasma cutter gun while having a four-way toggle between various different weapons that allows you to make use of third-person shooter action while engaging in the regular old AAA stagger slop that they've been delivering to you since Jedi Fallen Order. Or, excuse me, Jedi Survivor, then Fallen Order, and other things like that. Trying to copy in the footsteps of things like that of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and other video games of that type that have stagger bars that hang over the head of the characters that you're playing against. I am so tired of this story. Mainly because people desperately either want it to be something about the pedophilia, or people act like, huh? What? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, people keep using the fact that the Lolicons got the Pragmata Reddit taken down, that they say everybody who plays it is basically a rapist. Pathologizing an entire bit of content that has already made the culture war into a boring experience for everybody to discuss. Because they won't debate their topics. They won't debate their ideas. They just call you a rapist and a pedophile. It's disgusting. It's annoying. Adding on the fact the Lolicons that are demanding the oiled up, big booty, butt naked Diana mods are leftist progressives. It just makes it an open shut case. Because, yes, there are articles that have already been written. No, none of those articles detail anything that I just explained to you. So, for those of you who are already enjoying Pragmata, here is a microcosm of the macrocosm of the topics around the video game. For those of you who have not bought Pragmata, this is what you can expect to hear should you tell somebody that you've been playing it. That's it. There's nothing else. It's a really annoying story that just basically stops here. Because, you see, there was more drama about the Spear Hunter than there was about Pragmata the game. And I'm not going to cover the controversy about the changes to the character skins, because the cosmetics is a nothing burger as well. The basic thing that happened is that they changed something about Diana's character model, where she used to have black leggings, and they instead gave her little legs that poke out of an undergarment that has nothing to it. Smooth like a Ken doll. In fact, the way I described it on the video and several times inside the servers that I've been talking about it in, is that it's like the inside of a school-age lunchbox. The kind with the silver lining on the inside. little legs sticking out from underneath, hanging, dangling in the air, and it's like the inside of a school lunchbox. That was the change that they made. Now, of course, the Lollicons are the ones that were begging for them to not censor it, but for the skins that they have, it's just dress up. It's nothing serious. It's just dress up. There's no sexualization of the character. None whatsoever. So everybody making this shit up, it's a nothing burger. And they know it's a nothing burger. They just want to be mad. Niggas just want to be mad. And now, that brings us to the last topic. The other one that is in the thumbnail. So, many of you that are in the server already know that I engage in and play in a lot of different private servers. A lot being like 5. But of the 3 that I've tried to get people into, 1, 2, and 3 of those different ones is Drift City Remastered. Another one is Mabi Pro, Mabi no Gai Professional, the old school Mabi Pro, Mabi no Gai server, and the other one is Toontown Rewritten. Well, there are other private server games that I don't play, but that I know of, and today we will be looking over the video of one particular one that decided to go out of their way to make a nuisance of themselves and decided to skit into Blizzard's face until Blizzard decided to put their fucking foot down their throat and show them what's really good. Yes, one of Spear Hunter's profile pictures was commissioned from a porn artist that fetishizes trans people. That is true. The way that I treat it, I had advice that I put on the server that I'll talk to you all about. But first, let me introduce the subject topic of the last thing I have for you for stream. So, there is a WoW server, a WoW private server, by the name of Turtle WoW. Turtle WoW had been operating for about 8 years. And they have been maliciously, constantly bringing attention to themselves. That they finally got hit with a cease and desist and were getting sued by Blizzard and are now shutting down. It is the opinion of Dev that he decided this is going to be the time where he decides to come out of this cave and finally decide to play video games. So, per the forwarding that I put inside of the relaxation lounge in the Negro Parlor, Dev is going to be attempting to play this before it disappears forever. Reading verbatim, Turtle WoW, arguably the most favorite private server featuring fan-made zones and stuff, will be going down in a month due to them getting sued into oblivion by Blizzard. I've always wanted to try it, and I guess I gotta try it now. I'm never gonna get a chance. So if you want to play with me, Dave, and Naomi, we're gonna set up on the Nordinar server. We'll be hanging out in Turtle WoW, and if you want to get pained about playing together, you can say question mark WoW without the space, and the bot will give you the WoW rank in his server, not my server, his server. But in order for you to do that, you have to join his server. If you want to be able to get into that section quickly, you'd have to probably give him $5 a month to be a part of the Payback Club. My server, you don't have to do that. I will be making a room for it when I sit down to make my account. You can download the game and sign up for a Turtle WoW account by going to turtlecraft.gg. If this ends up being popular in community, I can always make a classic WoW guild after Turtle WoW finally dies. Anyways, we're going to get started on it tonight. I hope to see you guys there. He said this at 10:48 a.m. And he is currently should still be doing his sip. Unless he ended early. Yes. He is currently playing Final Fantasy Tactics with Naomi. And they dressed up to do it. Behold! The fat man and his woman, dressed as a black mage and a Moogle! So, those that are interested, because the marathon pivot is getting down to the point where there's almost literally nothing left to even talk about and to do, because of how little the fucking thing changes its dynamic. And since we're coming off of the back end of the slow death of the Path of Exile 1 private server, we are going to do a content pivot to allow for that. Because don't know how much stress it's going to be on a server. I have no fucking idea. But we're going to find out. We're going to try it. If you can be able to handle it, try it. But it is what it is. However, we're going to cover why Turtle WoW is closing. And when you see and hear this shit, you're going to be fucking mad. I can promise you, you're going to get fucking mad. When you see and hear about the bullshit that Turtle WoW was doing, you're going to get fucking upset. Guaranteed. I promise you. I promise you're going to get upset. So. Let us, ladies and gentlemen, get into it. This is a video from the channel JMoles. Blizzard are suing the dumbest people on the internet over WoW. Link in the sidebar.
Those advertisements on the... We are dealing with levels of stupidity beyond human comprehension. I haven't seen actions that are dumber than this since the last time I was on Reddit. Blizzard have filed a lawsuit against a private server, Turtle WoW. And look, I understand. When I say that someone's being stupid and I immediately start talking about Blizzard, you think I'm probably talking about Blizzard there, just based on track record alone. But what Turtle WoW have been doing is so freaking mind-numbingly stupid that I'm shocked this...
I was fixing volume.
Hasn't been attempted by Blizzard before. What is Turtle WoW? What is going on? And what can this mean for the future of World of Warcraft Classic? Does it mean we're getting Classic Plus? Hello, everybody. I am JMoles, and let's get into this.
Will you stop touching me?
Okay, so Turtle WoW is a World of Warcraft private server, and its whole identity, to my understanding, is that it's supposed to try to be the Classic Plus experience that a lot of people want that Blizzard haven't necessarily provided yet outside of like maybe Season of Discovery. And I'll leave a link in the description down below to the lawsuit. Just bear in mind, I'm not a legal expert, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not any of that.
To simplify the story, and to break it down as simple as I can, I used to be on a development team for a game called Shin Megami Tensei Reimagine. It was a private server running the comp hack files that were gathered for the game to run on a server being ran at cost to allow the game to exist separate of the official housing of the material that was relevant when it was still being featured and ran in the North American region by Area Games before it lost and was dead. Reacquired by a couple other people after Area was acquired at 100% acquisition. That in IJGI. And with amongst the many browser games that were being hosted by various different browser companies and sites, similar to things like Elsword, it had its licenses pushed around to places where the only way the game could exist in any format was basically highly monetizing it through Cash Shop, which meant that the game became basically unplayable for any person who was not willing to pay to win. And like any MMORPG that basically becomes a pay-to-win experience, it died surreptitiously, thus leading to people who want to play a private server, not only so they could revive an experience from their youth, but also so they could be able to actually play it with some level of competency and decency. Unfortunately, what had happened was there was a person that did something very similar like this to Atlas, bragging about the fact that they could run the same website code, the same layout, and the same licensed content as the original server for SMT Imagine. the original Japanese run of the game. They did this, got noticed by Atlas, and got butt-fuck sued into the ground. And we, in fear for our ability to not be sued, shut the server down ourselves electively because we did not want to take the risk. Even though it is possible that a person could in the future go and take the compact files, which were always available to be able to run the server, the question is, will you run that server at cost because it is prohibitively expensive to do so, and keeping it up all the time as a dedicated server, as well as managing the account systems, the data systems, the memory systems, and the implementation of content, as well as the translation of the files from Japanese and Korean to English. The same way that this was originally done with the system behind ArcSlayer when managed by Ida, who, if I remember correctly, was either a straight or transgender woman that paid people in ArcSlayer Cash, which was the premium currency of Phantasy Star Online 2, to translate the files from Japanese to English, while also providing a way for those that had a Sega Japan account, should they be willing to do the Japanese catch-but to make one, to be able to play on the Japanese servers utilizing their American connections, which is still possible to do this day, because their culture remains unspoiled, whereas us, once we got our global edition English version to play on Steam, immediately had our culture ruined and destroyed by the progressives that cared more about transgender status and using their pronouns and the rights rather than learning how to just guard. Which is why that's one of the dead games that I no longer play. There are some people who probably play it, but I refuse to play it because I refuse to give more money to a company that basically bucked to the trend of people who hate me and what I stand for. Unlike that situation, you're going to be learning about the things that they did that brought attention to themselves. Now, if you want to look into the lawsuit is pinned there, down there, inside the court listener document, which I'm about to retweet for all of you in the chat. God, that's a long tweet. That is a long link. Shorten that. But the simple fact of the matter is that very similar to our situation where we didn't even do nothing. We didn't even do nothing! And we got to shut down. They did literally the stupidest thing you could do. And said, hey, look at me! Look at me! My dick is so big! And Blizzard came up with hedge trimmers and said, shit! Ah!
Just a gamer. But honestly, I don't even want to get into the nature of the lawsuit itself, because to me that's secondary. If you are a private server, to my understanding, you're just not legal to begin with. Your best bet is to try to stay out of the spotlight and to shut up and keep your head down. That's not what Turtle Wow have been doing. No, for UC people, what they have been doing in their infinite stupidity have been replying to major Twitter accounts, including Blizzard customer support, including adding Blizzard's Twitter account to unrelated tweets in replies, just straight up adding them, basically taunting them, and also replying in a chain of replies under the midnight reveal. And maybe you have seen the advertisements about, but I sure have, for Turtle Wow. I've seen those advertisements on the internet before. It's like, as an entity that is not above board, you're just rubbing Blizzard's nose in it repeatedly and essentially taunting them. How freaking stupid do you have to be? It's a level of arrogance.
It's very stupid. And it's also the way that most private servers have to make a name for themselves. First rule of Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club. Why can't people understand this? Ah, well, you see, it's the same thing as somebody going in and talking about emulation and saying that emulation is so hard. And then all of a sudden, a person chooses to write an article for a gaming rag about how they were able to emulate Metroid Dread on a emulator. And then Kotaku gets angry about that they're never getting a call back from Nintendo ever, because they basically told people how to be able to steal their content from them. And they say that it's unfair that it's happening to them. It's like that. People have to fucking talk about shit. Leak about ROM hacks that are not yet completed directly to Nintendo, saying, yeah, Nintendo, you should hire this guy, only for them to cease and desist the thing into the ground. The only ones that never did that was Sega, because they actually did hire that guy, and that's how you got Sonic Mania and Sonic Mania Plus.
It's an ego that we haven't seen in a while. And I think what's really upsetting about this whole
Oh no, you have seen this ego in a while. Those who remember and call back to Ashes of Creation, this is that exact ego. Not just the ego on Pirate Software, the man who works at Blizzard, but never mentions it, except he does all the time. It's the exact same ego behind the people who wanted to run Ashes of Creation. The exact same one.
situation is that what Total WoW is doing sounds really cool and interesting with the way they were trying to implement a Classic Plus like experience to their, again, not a legal expert, but from my understanding is a legal version of World of Warcraft. And people clearly liked it. Whether it was legal or not, people flocked to Total WoW to play it. Even on Twitter, Total WoW bragged about how popular its latest European realm was doing. On August 23rd, even saying Amber Shire, the server, is on fire. Even a week after launch, the realm's population keeps growing and has just hit another peak of 11,700 players online. Like, yeah, absolutely, we can go, oh, fun detected and all that, right? And for the people enjoying Total WoW, I highly doubt they actually care, but at the same time, we have to be able to be honest about this situation and just say the people behind this PR train for Total WoW were acting wildly stupidly and arrogantly. And I've read a bunch of claims online that I don't know how verifiable they are, so I'm not going to repeat them here, but it just seemed from top to bottom, they just believed they could get away with it, or they just didn't care or couldn't think more than 5 minutes ahead. Like Blizzard going after privates.
To basically speak on this, rather than the kind of shit that happened to Pocket Pair concerning them being falsely hit with lawsuits from Pokemon because they were just angry that Pocket Pair gave people the adult Pokemon game that they wanted, just in a skin that wasn't labeled by the Pokemon Company and Game Freak. This is the kind of attitude that people on Twitter have. Companies, businesses, influencers, the like. Where they say to you, I can be so annoying to you because you're never going to give me attention. You're never going to give me attention. Then, when you reply to the person, they say, you're so pressed, you're so pressed, you're so pressed, you're so pressed. Because the idea is that they are cockroaches. They will scatter to the wind when you give them attention and you flash a flashlight on them. But they believe that they are so small fry that you won't waste your time engaging with it. So they get to be they get to get away with being these antagonistic like people, engaging antagonistically. There's a little bit of kayfabe and a little bit of power and politic theater, you see. If you react to them, it demonstrates that they in fact get under your skin. If you ignore them, they get to say the stupid shit that they want. But if you ignore them for long enough, it becomes a dull roar. And the thing they want to be able to demonstrate, they can't do. The thing they want to demonstrate is that their server is so popular that it's got Blizzard coping and seething. But it's the case that Blizzard just said, no, you're going to take your fucking game down. So, they played with fire, got a little bit too much hopped up on their pride, like Icarus, and their wings burned. And now, the wax wings are sailing all the way to the ground with only a month in where they are going to be ceasing operations at a current point in time. Which is the exact moment that Dev decided, this is when I want to play the game, because if I don't play it down, I'll never get a chance to play it. It's very silly, you see. Because in terms of trying to sell the idea of a private server, you don't want to have that kind of attitude. Because the kinds of people who will put money into a private server is very small. Most private servers are designed for what we call high rate or low rate. So basically, do you want to be playing the game as it was originally intended, like MapleStory pre-Big Bang? Or do you want to have something that was similar to the experience that I playtested for you all with that one character that I was playing that was a new feature that was a part of MapleStory when I was deciding whether or not it was something that I would want to get you all into as a part of gaming nights. That's what we call a low-rate server. So to compare that, a normal server on the normal rate is a 1 time. It gives a 1.0 modifier. Whereas on a server that is medium high rate is anywhere from 2x to 4x. So to compare, this is the page of Mabi Pro. It is the Mabi no Gai private server that I am a part of. As you can clearly see, there has only ever been a server game peak of 237 players. Currently online right now in the game is 35 people. Despite the fact that this game has such a low playtime, they update and upkeep the game with costs using Ethereum and Bitcoin. We have custom servers, and we even experience people choosing to fuck the game up with DDoS attacks. And yet, when we go through what we go through, we learn lessons about how to deal with these situations. We break down how it happened, what we did, how we tried to do it. And we occasionally have events and celebrations, like Mabuland, which has already come and gone at this point. And currently right now, the event that will be in, or no, it was in, was the Lorna Endless Melee event. With you being able to defend Lorna in Dunbarton. Teaming up in a party and being 20 meters next to Lorna and not having a shadow mission. And then being able to RP as one of 4 Lornas with their own skill set. And fighting off the monsters. And then being able to exchange these things for items. Despite this server being as it is, as small as it is, this is a medium to low rate server. Where, actually probably reverse, medium to high rate server, where all of our experience is doubled, and part-time and job experience upgrades are 4x, so that you gain loot and material faster. However, this is a fantasy life game, so unlike things like that of MapleStory, Mabi no Gai is based around the idea that you're always playing weekly, because you reset your character. Eventually, you get to a point where it's hard for you to level, and it's hard for you to gain new progression on your skills in your gear. And a part of the reset value is to reset your character. In things like WoW, that does not exist. So, no level skips, no level boosts, because you want to play through the core experience. But alas, most people don't want to do that. They want to get to the good part. In WoW, the experience is the good part. For those of you that would say something like that of DST is boring, this would be the kind of thing that would make you pull your hair out. I need to pee. Be back real quick. So, for those of you that have never truly played an MMORPG, it is the kind of experience that you can expect to see inside of things like fantasy, like that of Phantasy Star, and inside of that, like Final Fantasy XIV, or Realm Reborn. It is the kind of experience that is what we call a theme park attraction MMO. There's lots of mini games and lots of side fare, but the classic WoW experience is much more the I grind on experience, and I do quests, and I go through dungeons, and I go up the gear treadmill, and I become capable of doing my job by getting the gear that I need from the dungeon so that I can take on the next dungeon. And you do it with your friends, and it's what you do on the weekends when people say, hey, yo, bro, I can't make it. I gotta do things with my family, but I'll be in the raid next week, type shit.
surface is nothing new. They went after Nostalia's before they announced an actual World of Warcraft Classic version. Turtle WoW was not the first popular private server, and I highly doubt that it's going to be the last. I think this serves as a great reminder about have some sense of self-preservation. What are we doing here? It doesn't even require that much digging to find this stuff. I just went back in their timeline a little bit, and I found numerous, like, tweets and replies that were made to essentially taunt World of Warcraft or just try to get Turtle's name in the spotlight. And that's like walking up to a bear den covered in honey, holding 5 salmon and then going, "It's not gonna get me." It's like, what did you think was gonna happen? But with that now out of the way, let's talk about Classic Plus.
Stop touching me.
Okay, look, we can point and laugh at Turtle WoW being stupid all we want, but I think what Turtle WoW showcases is that there is absolutely a hunger out there for a Classic Plus-esque experience. Now, what does that entail? What does that mean? There's a lot of people out there that love the way Classic WoW feels. And to anyone with functioning frontal lobes, you can understand that, hey, retail WoW is a completely different experience to how Classic operates. The tone is different, the pace is different, the style of play is different. It's basically a completely different game, and not everyone will like retail WoW, and not everyone's going to like Classic. They have their own audiences, and there's some overlap there to be sure, but they have their own dedicated audiences, and you can only play the exact same game over and over and over again until it gets a little bit dull, and people want more of that thing that they already like. They want a little bit of variety, they want some kind of iteration on that founding idea. People want more World of Warcraft in the style of Classic WoW. Season of Discovery was a little project Blizzard did for a while where they tried to kind of do that. New forms of progression, entire new raids and encounters, stuff like that. And it was a really interesting idea, though from what I hear at least, was a bit hit or miss depending upon the phase. But I think it's fair to say, now that Season of Discovery is pretty much in the rearview mirror, people still want that Classic Plus experience. And I think
Basically, what the Season of Discovery was, for those that have experienced Once Human, it's that. Timed locked events that will slowly be unlocked as feature-complete opportunities between the various phases that the server has. When the server enters Phase 1, and everybody gets populated to the server for the first time, you cannot do all content, even if you're coming in with old material and old work. You have to, more than likely, use new weapons, new material, new armors, and build new bases, utilizing strategies that may or may not work the same, depending on the game that you are comparing it to. And then, as time moves forward, you progress at the speed at which the content would have been provided. So that means they level lock you from places like 1 to 50, so that you're at the level that is necessary for the raid that was relevant at that time. And then they slowly start moving through the expansions.
I think for a lot of people, the understanding is that Season of Discovery was kind of like a beta version for ideas they could test and experiment with, for things they might implement into a Classic Plus experience. But, well, we haven't gotten that yet, and people still want that experience, so of course people are going to flock to something that apparently functions and is fun, like Turtle WoW, because they want that experience. They want Classic Plus. And right now, there's no guarantee Blizzard is actually going to provide that. I think they're going to, because it's like a free money glitch, but there's no guarantee. Now, last I checked, we do have a BlizzCon next year, and I do think it's highly likely we're going to get an announcement for Classic Plus there. That just makes sense. That is a heavy hitter that is going to get a lot of advertisement and a lot of good publicity for Blizzard, so long as the premise is good and compelling. I mean, hell, they should...
Realistically, we can't really expect that, because look at what they did with Reign of the Warlock DLC. They basically dropped a PC version of Diablo Resurrected, following in the footsteps of them finally choosing to step outside the framework of Battle.net and take the free money that was always on the table as a part of the Steam Workshop when it came to the access to their content outside of the mainframe of the Activision Blizzard King Microsoft ABKM framework that they instituted on themselves back when Activision was the ones calling the shots, so that they could use Blizzard as a part of the infinite COD engine. There is no guarantee that they want money. There is more of a guarantee that, much like we remember from the olden days of the news being told to us, that they care infinitely more about people knowing that they have a weaker product compared to their competitors and blocking views and opinions about that news instead of actually allowing for people to experience change or, hell, even being able to play the same games at the same time. Instead, if they're looking at it as a competition situation, they've created the opportunity in which that competition situation is making them and a bunch of other people worry more about metrics and money, obviously, than fun amongst players and player retention. Because it's the case that if somebody wants to go into hardcore WoW to create their own OnlyFans, which is effectively what Shortfat Otaku is doing, that is a mile of difference between somebody like me frequently trying to provide opportunities for you guys to try new challenge leagues, which are similar but different to the idea that is being posited here for content like that of this, because this is a private server, and those are games that are being ran by AAA companies that are always putting out new content on balance patches that also act as new introduction passes of new content and new opportunities. My hair is fluffy. I'm getting dandruff on my keyboard.
Down Australia is one of the biggest classic servers back in the day, and then I think it was like a year later announced actual classic. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think Blizzard going after Turtle WoW is necessarily an indicator that Classic Plus is coming, because as we've covered in the previous parts of this video, Turtle WoW were being absolutely categorically freaking stupid. But they have been around for a while, so either Blizzard was like biding their time building a case, or they have now decided for whatever reason, now is the time to pounce. Now, Blizzard could absolutely just continue to roll through the various classic phases and just continue to do that in perpetuity, sure, and there will always be people that enjoy that, right? People to this day still go back to play the old Halo games because they're fun and they're great games. But I think an easy way to kindle a lot of excitement for Classic is to just do Classic Plus, to give it its own dedicated team, like they did with Season of Discovery, but take it up an even higher notch and iterate on that idea. The WoW sub is a really tantalizing offer. You get multiple versions of World of Warcraft. There's a lot of bang for your buck there, but it really begs the question, what direction would a Classic Plus experience actually take? Would it just go through the story beats that regular World of Warcraft has undergone, just you change the fundamental gameplay loop to keep that classic feeling the entire time? Or do you take the story in a completely different direction? There's a lot of different ways a Classic Plus experience could go, right? It's like, there's a lot of possibilities. What I think is going to happen is that Blizzard is waiting for the next BlizzCon to announce Classic Plus. I am of the opinion that Season of Discovery was them attempting a bunch of different things and seeing how players reacted to them and what they were positive or negative about, accruing all that feedback, and then develop Classic Plus based on that idea, based on that feedback. That's just my own gut instinct, right? But I think that's what's going on. I think that's what Blizzard were doing this entire time. And I think
if Blizzard was an intelligent company, I would agree. But unfortunately, Blizzard, with the loss of a lot of their original people, it is just like the same husk of multiple other studios and companies that have big brand names that are recognizable, but none of the people whose names made the business what it was on the fucking marquee. So, for example, it could be the case that Pirate Software's dad still has some level of influence inside of Blizzard. And that even if he is retired at this point, a person like him can make a phone call to somebody who's a part of a team and get somebody to move gears the way that, regrettably, when he actually did do something important and did have the right to say, "You're welcome, gamers," Mark Kern, Grums, did for gamers with the introduction of bringing the idea and cementing WoW Classic into what it became. Unfortunately, we do not live in that time period because, look, Jeff Kaplan left the company, went and made The Legend of California, and here he is doing that same AAA leftist bullshit saying, "If you don't like my game, don't say anything about it." So no, I don't think they changed. I don't think they know how to make intelligent business decisions. Because I think even if they have Tencent with their finger, or Microsoft to be more exact, putting words up their ass to talk about it, It's the new X-Bone, just like the old X-Bone. It's the new Xbox. It's the new X-Boss, just like the old X-Boss. They're caring more about how to monetize you for cash than they are about caring about your investment in the game. Because, hey, you're gonna play the game. Either you're gonna play the original version because, oh my god, they killed WoW, WoW's dead, and you take a position similar to that of Asmongold, where he's looking at and responding to that video of a guy who basically got ninja looted in a dungeon. And he's like, yup, that was me. 20 years ago, that was me. Another 20 years, that's going to be somebody else. Or they play new retail WoW because they enjoy the experience. They like playing the click simulator. They like going from dungeon to dungeon, to quest, doing mythic raids, doing extra shit on their bulletin board, and completing everything they need for the grail. They win both ways because it's two different perspectives that are speaking to the same benefit, which is what a business should do. Give you product, not lecture you about fucking gender norms. But unfortunately, because it's baked into the ideology, even while you're doing that, you're going to be inundated with those people that are going to tell you that if you don't have the right politics, don't say the right words, they're going to harass you the same way that people used to harass the players that then left for Final Fantasy XIV. Because I can't get into a raid, nobody will teach me how to raid, you're supposed to already know. How can I know something that I haven't experienced yet? So, your mileage might vary.
If Blizzard can stick the landing here, there's gonna be a lot of happy people out there. You will always have people that are disgruntled by Blizzard or just don't want to support Blizzard overall, and no matter how good of a product Blizzard puts out, they're never going to be receptive to it. You will always have people like that, and there will always be loud people on the internet like that. But I think that if Blizzard are able to successfully stick the landing when it comes to a Classic Plus version of World of Warcraft, then they're gonna see the same spike in popularity, if not more, like when they first put out Classic. Like, remember that? There was a period of time where almost certainly Classic was more popular than retail WoW. There's a lot of people out there that want that style of World of Warcraft back again. They want iteration on that style. They prefer that slower, more methodical, more multiplayer forward version of World of Warcraft. And I think if Blizzard are smart about it, they should provide that at some point. And it should have its own dedicated team to consistently provide updates, provide roadmaps, and new content for that experience. That's the direction I think they should go in. Whether they actually do that remains to be seen.
Will you stop touching me?
Here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with what you would like to see out of a Classic Plus. Would you like to see new classes, new races? Blood Elves maybe? Draenei? Do you think they should just continue the story of regular World of Warcraft but change the gameplay to be more in line with Classic? Or just go in a completely different direction and tell a wholly different narrative? I would love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. And if you want more World of Warcraft coverage, you should leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, JMolesG. I have a Discord in the description down below. And speaking of World of Warcraft, I think Midnight looks really dang good as an expansion, but oh my god, did they mess up announcing this thing. If you want to hear the tale of woe, you should check out this video right here for more. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.
What the fuck was that at the end? Oh my god. Grand Central. But that is the breakdown. That is the story. Turtle did a bunch of dumb shit to get themselves shut down. They're going to be shutting down in a month. And in that month, single player Carl will attempt to help with and involve himself and his audience with DevCord to get the OnlyFans guild running. And hopefully, it does not go tits up, because this is something that Devin is actively searching for. That does not mean that you need to join Devin's Discord in order to be involved, but it does mean that you probably will have to engage with him in the game. It is what it is. Play the game, don't play the game, do what you want, I don't care. But I'm going to be doing it simply because how many opportunities do I actually get to play video games with my friends? I literally only was able to play with Dave, not Dev, to play with Dave the other week on stream when he was streaming Slay the Spire 2, because everybody in the chat room who had the ability and was able to showed up, sat down, played it, and we had a lot of fun, even though we only got to do one run. Very similar to what we've already done on Discord Gaming Night. I'm just spreading the culture around and trying to bring in as many people as I possibly can. So, like I said, I will make a server section in Gamers for people to talk about Turtle WoW and to have their own voice chats to be a part of. He says he's going to start this tonight. So, if you want to be able to get in on this quickly, you're going to have to start the process tonight. Currently, it is now the time of 5:53 p.m. EST. I am probably going to end this broadcast in 15 minutes, if not literally now, assuming that there is no person who has a call-in question that they would like to call in about. So, should you dudes and dudettes and ladies and gentlemen and other worms that want to get a perm have things that they want to say and or do about the content, please come to me right now and run them hands. That is 555. Run them hands. Or click on the link that is pinned inside the chat room of every single place where Carl and Carl-related accessories are sold. Otherwise, if you do not do so, in a few minutes, I will be disappearing into the Twister Wind so that I can go start my account. Calling in! First up, Hello Reflex, how can I help you?
Alright, Turtle WoW and the way how they're going about it. So, if Turtle WoW becomes more successful than Retail WoW and Classic WoW, that just says something about Blizzard themselves not catering to the people that want a Turtle WoW Classic Plus experience, because I've seen a bit of gameplay of it and it looks like a lot of fun. I'm just not into WoW itself, nor do I want to buy a subscription for it right now, but I've seen a lot of gameplay. It has the elements that makes Classic WoW. When people talk about the nostalgic elements of it, that's what they're referring to. Hopefully that Classic Plus, if that guy is right, who by the way made a actually good video, which I would want if you want to talk about Culture War stuff, maybe he made a video talking about how new content for WoW is pretty bad. It's very safe, corporate safe, and not kind of mind-blowing as it used to be. Maybe check that out. But overall, it legally it kind of goes back to that discussion I had about licensing rights and stuff and copyright and stuff. By all accounts, Blizzard has full right to do what they're doing. However, it's a bad look for them towards their fans. Now, you may disagree with me on this, but that's just overall what it is. Now, Turtle WoW themselves, they probably got some AI chatbot to fucking do this and market themselves on that, because that's a marketing fail, especially as someone who has a marketing background a little bit. Don't do what they did, TLDR. But that's all I gotta say. You probably should end the stream after I'm done.
I mean, I have the same opinion, because as a person who has ran and also participated in private servers, don't fucking antagonize the company that owns the original rights and copyrights of the content. Don't do it. You are in a very specific, particular, homogenized culture where you are a cuttlefish that is picking shit off the teeth of the main game. Because what people do is that if they don't like playing the retail edition of the game, they go find a private server where they can be able to fuck around in. Because, well, I can't get it in the real game, so I'm going to do it over here in this game. Or they hate something that has become core integral to the retail experience, and they would rather play the old experience. You cannot split teeth on this. Now, it's entirely possible, because of the position that Blizzard finds himself in, that they can actually benefit from both sides of the issue. Because they literally can conglomerize the fields. Oh, you don't like what we did inside of the game? Well, here's another game. We already have seen this done. Hello? Old school RuneScape. Hello? Evolution of Combat split between RS2 and RS3? It already happened. We've already seen this been done. Hell, technically, Path of Exile is now doing this as well with Path of Exile 1 and 2. Even though slowly backporting and forward-porting different issues is starting to homogenize them into a similar-ish game, where mappers and blasters are the same as the people who are clanners and looking for group raiders. Same shit as it ever was inside of Destiny 1, Destiny 2, Warframe, what have you. The thing that is the caveat, however, which does tie into Stop Killing Games. Yes, I did see the EU coverage in the Polarant. Yes, I did see the tweets that are being made by Target Software. I just chose not to cover it. because I think I should make that either its own separate thing, or you just pay attention to it, because they're at the point where they are doing things, and there are other channels bigger than mine that have already covered the situation, so I didn't see a reason in which to cover the knowledge. But the thing that kicks in here is that this is a collaborative and community effort of how does one want to actually commune in the video game. It's already hard to get people into an ARPG. It's already even harder to get them into an MMO ARPG. It is even harder to get them into a full-scale clan-based MMO RPG that has looking for group. Because what kind of stranger are you going to come across? And are they an antisocial weirdo that likes playing video games as a loner ARG player? There's not really much you can do about it. It just is what it is. Blizzard has the unique position that they can be able to do something and benefit off of that, but Blizzard WoW put themselves in a position where they kind of have to now deal with the whims of the AAA industry. So while they're trying to make Overwatch into a good product, that means that they probably need to pivot a lot of their resources to make the upcoming release of Diablo 4 a good product. Because remember, you got all these things happening at the same time. You've got Overwatch happening with its updates and its new changes to try and compete with what Marvel Rivals is doing. Rest in peace, CC Lockers that liked playing CC Lock spam builds because they have nerfed that in the current season. That's wild. You've got Diablo 4 coming up around the corner. You also have people still playing Diablo 3. Don't know how the fuck they're keeping that shit running, but it's probably season-based content. It is. You've got the update release of the original Black Paladin, not Crusader, Black Paladin, alongside other classes getting updates and reworks, which is already its own evolutionary rethread, because now you're dipping into the ARPG lobby, and those that are playing ARPGs, they're going from Path of Exile 1 to Path of Exile 2, the last epoch, then to something like Titan Quest 2, or some other fucking shit you've never heard of, and then chilling in other video games on their own content pivots before they come right back to other shit. So, asking for them to put in time on that, as well as Diablo 2 Resurrected, or Project Diablo 2, which is another private server game run off the infrastructure of Diablo, to play similarly to Path of Exile. Diablo 2 Resurrected in the season of the Reign of the Warlock, playing exactly like a dressed down, or rather a more patched up, non-white plug version of Diablo 2 with the mindset of having things like tabs for gems and artifacts and a actual capitulation of a royal and holy grail for your Ubers and unique items. In sophistication of tie-in compatibility with the Herodic Cube system. It plays exactly like if somebody wanted to do to Diablo 2 what became Path of Exile all those years back, 13, 14 years ago. And then that's also competing against the shit in Retail WoW, and then the shit that's competing in Retail Classic WoW. And all the intra-matrices that go on there. The same things that they're doing in Once Human, between Endless Dream and Way of Winter, and new and old Manibus that is now separated between a novice server and the full hardcore server, and the PvP servers of Evolution's Call and Prism vs. Clash, and even the for fun but really badly scaled version of SEP Deviation, or rather Deviation SEP. You have thousands and thousands of little itty-bitty things that are investing people to play that game differently. The same way that you have people playing differently. Things like Retail RuneScape 3 and Retail Old School RuneScape. To the point of that's why they implemented the polling system. That only people who are members can be able to vote on what gets included into the game. And even when people try to vote in upgrades, there are some times where it is necessary for Jagex to actually nerf or buff things so that people stop doing certain shit. It's why they originally had things happen inside the Revenant Caves, and they changed it from a clanning zone to singles plus. You really have to, tone and bear down and grind down on the core thing that you want people to be invested in. If a person wants to play WoW, there are thousands of different WoW clones that are out there. But if they specifically want to experience the original WoW, they can find a private server that features it, that has a low rate or high rate event that plays in a certain era and will either never move past that era or will move forward through the era on a timely basis with updated content, with or without server wipes, probably without, because with server wipes kind of like Kharkov, it would discourage people from playing because my content gets wiped anyways. What's the fucking point? But
Yeah.
whatever way they explain it, the joy of it comes from playing with people who you know. And that is supposed to be the same draw here. You're playing it with people who you know. When the game goes down and, well, what happened to my progress? What do I do now? It's just like OnlyFans. You all come together. It's like the fucking setup of fucking Heroes of Might and Magic, The Gathering Storm. 5 heroes gather from across the land to stop the gathering storm that are changing the winds of war. You are bringing different people from different worlds and from different experiences together to try to bond together as a clan and come together as a group with actual cohesion. To speak on it from the Wick stage, this is how you build your coalition. Not with stuffy boardroom shit and loud fucking arguments about geopolitical politics, but about somebody being mad because Carl rolled the loot and then somebody ninja looted that bitch, and now we gotta have a competition where I gotta beat a nigga's ass in return in order for me to get loot in another game. That's where the real fun is. The interpersonal social drama that created the even creating the informational point of the terminology OnlyFans. Because that's what Soda Poppin called the original Hardcore WoW Guild. When he brought together all those influencers to bring them in, because on one part, it's Fish Tank Live, in the video game, in the social experience, bringing together big name people, who the fuck cares people, and small time streamers, giving them an opportunity to become interpersonally growth. It's like a fucking camp for influencers. It's like a fucking camp.
It was how, people attribute this to Dream, but no, it was not Dream. It was Call Me Carson, of all people, started, or rather, like, popularized the idea of SMP servers, like, again. So usually, most of these times, old SMP servers were things like the Yogscast, because they were a group that can get together, you know, as a company right off, make a server, right? That's how they did their Tekkit. That's how they did their evolving Tekkit series for every other person branching off. Singe did it for a long time. Duncan did it for a long time. But Call Me Carson actually built up so many people's careers inadvertently by hosting his own SMP server. People will attribute this to Dream because a bunch of them are younger kids and he was just more popular. But Dream literally got the idea from Carson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the whole thing is, because Jay Schlatt would have been small as he is if it wasn't for that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't gain a friend, basically, unfortunately, the Carson thing is a bunch of drama, which I'm not going to get into, but basically, Jay Schlatt was funny enough to be a part of Carson's friend group. Carson's friend group grew and grew and grew, and they're the way how they are today. And same with his friends, by the way. It's not just Jay Schlatt. I'm just bringing him up because he's one of the more popular ones comparatively. They all became big people because of that sort of thing, that they had a streamer-based server where anyone can stream, everyone's streams are linked amongst each other, and so on, and they had the mod where you could play with a proximity voice chat. That was like a mod that you could play with. I messed around with it a little bit. It was a little fun. But that was kind of the whole point. That was what OnlyFans is. Everyone's a streamer. They can grow amongst each other, having big people with smaller people being like, hey, this is who I'm playing with, and you can fucking clickbait your fucking stream to high heaven, being like, I'm playing with Pirate Software today, or I'm playing with Soda Poppin', I'm playing with Tyler One, I'm playing with, you know, and that's not clickbait because technically you are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's obviously, you know, whatever. It's just Blizzard is gonna have a huge field day if they're gonna release their own Classic Plus experience, which if anything, all they need to do is just rework Classic to make it a Classic Plus experience and just call it a day. But that's the problem with Classic is Classic WoW is like what, the first 3 expansions, and then they were saying, oh yeah, we're gonna expand the expansions list going forward, which is just gonna be a relaunch of just WoW again, which that was one of the bigger criticisms about it. And what seems with Turtle WoW, it seems it's going to be a much smaller, limited expansion list. And they're only going to keep up to that. but obviously now they have to shut down because whoever was marketing their fucking private server is a retard. So, anyways, that's my whole spiel.
Mm-hmm. It's very similar to the experience that was being featured from Mabi no Gai originally. Mabi no Gai was started in a very simple phase where every update, major update, was called a generation. Generations 1 through 3 was the original lore of the overall world of the video game. Then, the transformations for Paladin and Dark Knight. That came with its own storyline that you had to play through with RP quests, and those quests took place all over the world of Siddhartha. And through Siddhartha, because it's Celtic, don't know how Koreans get into a Celtic version of their own roleplay fantasy, but next I'll be crazy. But every single place in the world of the game, the world was locked off by sealing stones. So people were basically locked into their towns. They couldn't leave. They also had difficulty going out and going into dungeons, because in order to break the lock on the dungeon and become a seal breaker, you had to do specific things to experience the content of the game and get to the point where you now have the ability to read the book that then allows you to seal break the stone. It gave you a benefit, it gave you a special title, which was marginal benefits, but at the time it's like, wow, world's first. And this became the basis of how you progressed through the game. And then from Generation 4 onwards, every new update was a part of what was considered the core experience. In Nexon's infinite wisdom, Nexon of America, known for being greedy bastards, they decided that they were going to make it into the same kind of experience that a freemium game would force upon you. You need to pay for marriages, you need to pay for clans, you need to pay for all the basic things that are supposed to be basic features that you would have inside of an MMORPG. But one of the core features that was considered to be free plus was the experience of the beginning generations. Namely, generations 1 through 3 for human characters, and then for the giants and elven characters, generations 7 and 9, which basically is the continent of Iridia. No, I'm wrong. 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 being things that dealt with the continent of Iridia and Iria. I-R-A-I? Yes.
Iria, I think.
Irid. Anyways, separate continent. Desert place. Desert place. You have to go there. Buy a continent change. You had to wait an in-game amount of time in order to retransfer to the other side of the game world. It was a place that basically had newer special dungeons that gave you the ability to explore. Exploration XP, character XP. You get Exploration XP, you also get AP that allows you to build your big character, so your character is level 100, but your Exploration level is level 1 or level 10. You've got levels to push and levels to grind, which all connected to the own story quest because you also needed to learn other skills that gave you the ability to find things that were necessary that you needed to get from running the dungeons. Namely, things that were necessary for you to complete the new generation quests and the various pieces across the game, similar to what you would have experienced in MapleStory during pre-Big Bang, and you kind of experience, but you get teleported there for free as a part of the world story in post-Big Bang. The overall experience itself comes down to, do you play a theme park, or are you actually learning the lore of the game as it's going on? And it ends up being the case that over time, this kind of experience started being a breakpoint. You know, how do I find the time to play with my friends? I love being in a guild, but what if I want to play on my time? Which is where the ARPG became more popular than the MMORPG. This is where Path of Exile became more popular. I don't have to wait on other people. I can just play my maps and run my maps, and my maps are my maps. The loop is the loop. I'm already farming to begin with. I don't have to wait for my team to farm, and if the team does come online and we're able to play a 4-man to 6-man run doing Ubers, it is what it is. But it is also the case that, much like with creation SMPs and survival SMPs, it's hard. It's hard to get people together. Because first, it's going to be difficult and hard if it's a game that has a lot of mods. We already experienced this with Don't Starve Together. It can be made easier over time, but it can be very hard because you have to find mods that are functional and purposeful. And the minimal amount of server mods, or actually a maximum amount of server mods, that helps with the quantifiable play experience with a minimal amount of client mods that add user experience that makes the experience better without complicating the startup. But at the same time, games like Eco, having entire game loops that are based around, oh, you can control the economy of a specific item that will be in the game because people in the early game won't farm it, and if you farm it, you can become the single one person responsible for the resource completely across the entire server. This kind of appeal is the same appeal you get with things like Grounded and Barotrauma. Or V-Rising.
Yeah, what you just described there with the man being... That's the dream scenario that Vosh wants, the coconut scenario.
Yes, Coconut Island. Yes.
Coconut Island, oh my god. I don't want to go that route, god damn, because I went on a whole entire... Okay, this is just a little soapbox moment. I went on an entire stupid tirade about Atomic Heart and how fucking stupid it is in terms of a story, like its background lore, because have you played it before?
I have not.
Okay, so basically it's BioShock, but it's what communists think their worldview would be if they won the Cold War. And the whole fucking story is that it's literally Reddit atheist, scientist people making robots, and then it was actually it's blamed of a traitor among the Soviet people that he enacted a robot revolution to destroy all of humanity, essentially, well, humans in general in the area, when in reality it was the actual communistic government wanting to plan this attack and then blame the Americans to go to war again using robots. And I'm like, and I'm not gonna lie, the English dub is really bad because they, instead of saying comrade, they go comrade, raid. I don't know, it's dumb, but like basically that's what it is. Like it just my brain, it's so stupid because also during around this time, it would have been around the Cold War, the Soviets never traded with the Americans never traded with the Soviets whatsoever. So it's like, how does this make any sense? Because there's a line saying that there's a labor shortage in America because of robots from the Soviets. It's like, no, that wouldn't be possible. Not at all. Sorry, I just had to go on that. I went on a dumb... It's a fun game, though. Gameplay-wise, it's like BioShock Classic. All I gotta say.
Okay.
Anyways, you probably should end the stream so you can make your Turtle WoW account.
That's what I'm doing right now. As it keeps telling me my forum username and username must be difficult. Okay, fucking fine. Single player orc. There you go.
There you go.
Slow down. Please wait another second. You're the one that won't let me name my fucking account. But yeah, the experience of playing an MMORPG, just as it is for us playing things like Drift City and Don't Starve Together and Eternal Return to a degree, as well as Toontown Rewritten and Mabby Pro, should anybody ever choose to do that, because that would be a lot more frustration than you'd think. It all comes with various ebbs and flows and waves. The same ebb and flow and wave that you'd have starting a Iron Man group inside of OSRS is the same flow and ebb you're going to have starting out on the widely popular and very well known, all the way up to Stormbringer DLC of Final Fantasy XIV. It's just the things that you're willing to do comes and goes in ebbs and waves. And one does not truly quit playing these games once you start them. You just take very long breaks in between, because you have to find the time, the passion, and the energy to want to do it. Some people don't want to have that level of commitment because, hey, if I'm going to play a video game that has to be a subscription-based model, I have to have money to pay for the model in the first place. That's why the short version of these end up being more popular. But of course, the time commitment is the part that isn't free. People don't want to be in the experience unless they see a benefit to being in the experience. So the influencers, they had to have the deal sweetened for them by the fact that somebody would get them to play the video game, finally, made properly. Get them to be invested. And for those investments, it was, hey, here's a big name streamer. Hang around this person and maybe you get famous. we saw perfect cases examples with this with OnlyFans 1 and OnlyFans 2. Who knows if Sodapocalypse will be brave enough to do OnlyFans 3 again? Because now that they're getting DDoSed because so many people hate Pirate Software that much, or hate the guild that much, or want to be involved in the content and say, yeah, we're the ones doing that to them, yeah, we're the ones doing that to them, then it's the same experience I was describing before. Laughing comment from members, taking advantage of and creating drama that creates an infinite loop of watchable content that is literally just fish tank happening with content creators in the video game. This is the factor that provides people the entertainment that allows them to play. The way that I see it, I don't see it as an opportunity for you to be able to, like, play with a bunch of people. Oh, wait, you're right. You were telling me about Atomic Heart. I misunderstood the game that you were asking about. No, yes, I have played Atomic Heart. I just haven't played the DLCs.
Okay, yeah, my friend went back to play it so he could play the DLCs.
But, with these games, the problem is that the influencers have to see it as an investment of, how do I get my time paid back for having played this game? Because single-player games will get you the same level of chagrin and opportunity on stream. If you're Destiny, I'll use him as a perfect case example, because he's the exact kind of person I told Devin he should invite into it. Not because, oh, you gotta have him here. It's because it's the idea of what Wick claimed on his panel. He says he wants to build a coalition. He wants to make libertarianism sexy again. You want to build a coalition of content creators? You can't do it with podcasts. You can't do it with stream debates. You have to bring people into showing them how they are when there's no politics involved, and how they behave when there are interpersonal clan politics. We saw Pirate Software's career literally implode because of group dynamics, demonstrating that he was always an asshole. He just shrouded it. He just shrouded it in being a know-it-all and an asshole and a jackass. You could claim... yes?
Well, see, you say that, like, interpersonal, where the politics are rather based on the game. His experience with EVE Online, how much of a shit show that was. Almost he ruined the experience for EVE Online for thousands of players. Almost millions. Because, and lying about it, by the way, I don't know if you kept up with the drama, but basically he was, like, the leader of a company, which is a guild in that equivalent, where basically there's new content that was added, and it's like a new group of space, and that his company controlled that new group, but they had to defend it, and he was like bitching on how they had to defend it, and it was really annoying that they had to, when that was literally marketed as part of the new content. And a bigger streamer, I can't remember the top of my name, that plays him online and explains that this is part of the content, that he's bitching for the sake of it, and that he constantly, because there was also another thing, is that content guild leaders, or not content guild, company leaders can be a representative for their guild to go to the actual developers if it's like a board meeting or whatever, kind of like a council in like Star Trek or something, and give their case on like how they can get favor or whatever. He would constantly go there to bitch to the developers saying, stop having us having to defend our space. We've defended it enough. Also, we're not getting rewarded for it, which the developers literally had said, you're not going to get rewarded for this because the reward is keeping your fucking space. That is the point. And he could not understand that. And even one of the other guys who was at a faction, or not a faction, but an opposing company, had to tell him this multiple times at these meetings, that that's how it works. That's the point. That was what it was marketed, and even showed him this. And it came to the point where he was bitching and making an enemy out of everybody, because people that were a part of his guild were targeted, even though they had nothing to do with Pirate besides, oh, their name is associated with Maldavius Figtree. That is his EVE Online persona there.
Correct.
And it got to the point where they literally had to kick him out of the company, make someone else the new head, and actually agree with like what the content was. Now, they disbanded the whole thing and then reworked the whole system going forward, but that was the whole point, that he was a fucking asshole the entire time, and bitching that that's what the content is. Now, there was only one time when content was actually broken and it was a bug and the developers admitted it, but Pirate made it as if like it was targeted towards them, even though that was not the case. So dumb.
This is exactly what basically happened to a T in every video game you went to. Ashes of Creation, WoW, hardcore WoW with OnlyFans, getting kicked out of the guild with a G kick because he just kept bitching about particular users and he just kept making drama without ever apologizing. Granted, he had reason to be annoyed and angry with the second in command, Yamato's Blade, because he was being an unobliterative faggot, but unfortunately, this was a case of optics, and he did not have good optics. And then, of course, he did the whole interview with Dr. K, and that didn't go over well for him. It only demonstrated more of his narcissistic, toxic traits. And then when he got G-kicked, and he decided to come to Path of Exile 2 to play our game, even though he was in a state where he couldn't be affecting the game for anyone else, he couldn't be doing the thing with anyone else, he just made it into a whole thing where he's like, oh, help, I'm being harassed, help, I'm being attacked, help, I'm being criticized, help, these people just keep attacking me and my audience, they keep attacking me through them because they want to attack the trans people and the allies because I'm a good person. It was an entire bit.
He's Californian, so it makes sense.
True. But it was an entire bit that basically ruined the good name of every single game that he was associated with. And literally on the dying ship of Ashes of Creation, as their company is shutting down the game, he's bitching to a member of the support staff who told him, the only reason we're having this conversation is because I won't have a job. We're dealing with the people who are harassing you, but I can't do anything about the people who are calling you a ferret fucker. His entire attitude is about controlling the media narrative and then being mad that he can't tell you to eat his cock and suck a dick and then him abuse his power position to act as one of those entitled people that use their partner position in a partner program to get you sacked and banned from a game. It's the kind of experience that happens inside of Sea of Thieves and other Pilot-like games all the time. A person claims that you're griefing them when they are in fact being a griefer. Because they are a streamer and you're a literal who, they can be able to say, well, see, I got the VOD links to prove it. And so they get you targeted. Just like that example of that girl that in Australia was targeting that guy with her lies because he got one up on her inside of fucking Arc Raiders. This kind of attitude is what gets exposed and exploited very quickly inside of scenarios. Hell, you could say that people would claim that, well, that will happen to single-player Carl because any kind of dramas that I've had in my past involving interpersonal people that are personal IRL friends, or drama involving me and other people involved with me, not even for something that I said, but for something that Devin may have said. And me saying, well, he's not wrong. Can you prove him wrong? And them saying, you're trying to glaze him! You're trying to protect him! You put that in a situation like this. With all of these influencers that are on places like Wix Stage, people that you've never heard from before, that only usually ever exist into their own audiences, people like Not So Erudite, people like Destiny, people like Stardust, if she chooses to bring him over, people like Lonerbox, people who would have been a part of the original pre-Sex Epstein Dalabon, like Irrelevant, showing up here, and on one hand, the same way that you could talk about breadtubers in this fashion, or say White Forest / White Leaf, where Vosh would run his guild like Coconut Island, where people who choose to attack me, like Picky Paws, or other haters from my past, like, hell, Birdman fans, or Birdman himself, Anthony Edward West, or Christopher, which is to say, Shark03, where they might behave one way in video, or even Noah Samson, or even fucking George, Banapanada, or fucking take your pick from the who's who of the Hassanites, where they act one way in their content, they might act an entirely different way when it comes to the guild. And really, that's what people want to see. They want to see the interpersonal dramas. They want to see how the personalities interact and connect. They want to see if the person removed from their streams are good people at their core, but are just constantly in situations that don't favor them. And that this becomes an opportunity for them to get noticed. Because the problem with the Fortress arcs that have been affecting all of content for the last 5 years is that nobody likes to collab, which means opportunities like that don't present themselves because the bigger fish don't put themselves in those positions. The reasonable reason is because if they put themselves in those positions, then there's a chance that newer, hungrier, thirstier streamer, even if they aren't trying to take their spot, might become a bigger figure than them. And if that were to happen, they would have to pray that person make space for them. Because, of course, I treat you based on the way that you have with your politics, and when I'm in power, I treat you the way I want to based on my power politics. Yada yada. Yes. It's very fucking annoying with Twitch, because it basically means you can't collaborate with people, which is why it's so wild that OnlyFans 2 was able to be successful for as long as it was. Mostly because outside of the pirate software shit, because all they know is the second Diarmall Rochi clip, not the first one, which demonstrated a better case example of him fucking shit up and almost getting other people wiped in the hardcore raids. Yep. The shit around the ninja loot situation, around the punishments that were supposed to be given to Yamato's blade by Tyler trying to send him to the arena, but him using sharding as a way to escape full punishment, and his character not getting killed as a part of it. The fucking debates and the arguments and the personality traits, or even the moments where Soda Poppin on the first run was going through the personality traits of the people being given labels about the game, and a lot of it came down to him just being so fucking annoyed with people like Amain that he just bans Pokimane eventually within a fucking week, because he's that fucking annoying to be around. Like, you don't
space. No, I'm sorry.
you don't get opportunities like that unless people want to get the ball rolling. And the fact of the matter is that the thing that sucks about it is that people do not like getting the ball rolling. It's not even necessarily a time thing. Because, of course, you can play at any time you want. Certainly, there's an appeal to, we all level up at the same time, we all go grinding at the same time, blah, 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 blah. But it's the whole, it's the clock in, clock out, hey, Tom, hey, George, going to Diarmall? Yep, you know it. Going to the arena? Yep, you know it. Bye, Paul. Bye, George.
Right. I feel like the problem with OnlyFans 1 was that I got streamers who never fucking played WoW into trying to play WoW, which there's nothing wrong with that because that's how you grow your game, you know, getting other people to play it. But it's that a lot of the people that were a part of it only played it twice a week at most, and they would be so far behind. And then the people that actually played WoW to make content for it were the ones that were getting more more views on their streams comparatively. Mm-hmm. And then whenever they would play other games like Resident Evil, I know a couple of people were big into Souls games, so they were playing that when it was coming out, like the new ones, mods or whatever. Mm-hmm. They were getting more views than their WoW streams because that's what they know them more from than WoW. Also, I do want to mention with Pirate Software, with his Ashes of Creations, the quote-unquote reason why he left was actually a genuinely dog shit reason. It was just his last bit of effort to get relevancy from it. It's because he antagonized 90% of the guilds in the game, and 90% of the guilds would gank him so bad and outskill him so bad to the point where it made him look like a genuine idiot, and he just stopped playing. There's this one guy, I can't remember who he was. You can probably look it up, Ashes of Creation, ganking Pirate Software or whatever. He used to be part of Pirate's guild, got kicked out because he called out Pirate for literally doing it's literally the lightning storm pulling in the ad that would kill everybody in one shot. He called him out saying, no, you're the one that did that, dude. He gets kicked out. Him and his friends play Ashes of Creation. They level up and stuff, and anytime Pirate and his guild was on there, they would ambush them constantly and outskill them, and then Pirate would bitch and complain that they're playing it like it's a MOBA, which that's the one part of Ashes Creation that's interesting, is that it's played like a MOBA.
Go ahead. Continue.
Did you end the stream now?
No. I'm letting you get to the end of your point because I have something on screen to assist with explaining exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Pirate, at that point, got so fed up. Most of his guild started to disband and became normal players disassociated with him. And then his guild was like 70% or less than 70% of his guild went away, because also part of the Ashes of Creation, part of his guild was just new players getting in because their favorite streamers playing it. And by that point, most of those people stopped paying for their subscription or pay for the one-time thing, didn't want anything to do with the game anymore because it wasn't for them. Happens, that's how it is. And the people that did stick, because they are MMO players, constantly had their accounts or constantly had their player or their characters getting killed for literally doing gold runs, doing resource runs, not even doing PvP, because that was another thing about Ash's creation, is like very PvP centric, which is different from it, because that's why I said it's like an MMO, or it plays like a MOBA. And the class system and stuff, that one guy, he wasn't the sole reason why Pirate left, but he contributed to it. The one I'm talking about that ganked him constantly.
Yes.
Him and his friends constantly did it. They fucked over Pirate. Anytime he was on server, they just went after him. And even on like stream sniping, it was just because they wanted to, because fuck that guy,
Yes. It's called on-site principles. So, I once covered this explicitly, by word, by knowledge, directly on camera. It is the current image that I have projected on the screen that everybody can see. Everybody who's seen inside of my Why Gaming Spaces Are Perverted file know exactly what this is talking about. When a high-level player bullies a low-level player, that is the PvP loot experience that people can expect out of things like the original edition of New World. When a high-level group is bullying lower-level players, that is clanner raids that are being projected against an individual. And when a PvP group chooses to antagonize a broadcaster, that is exactly like when I was being antagonized live on camera by an individual whose entire reason of disliking me was, how dare you, a personal social streamer, play a social video game on camera? You're lying about who you are. I don't know anything about you. I just know that you talk a lot. You're lying about having a family. You're lying about being a father. You're lying about having money. You're lying about a lot of things. If you're just autistic, you just have brain damage. Why don't you just admit that? And people going out of their way to harass my stream and to stream snipe me in my chat room, constantly doing the same level of diet-fat cascade they are doing to Dev online every day, doing to me, only because, for part of it, I got a channel mute, only because there were people lying about things that they claimed that I said, which allowed me to then go directly to the mods and give them the VODs for them to start banning people actively, because they were falsifying ban reports. But then, when I confronted this person, and finally got to confront them live on air with a member of the community server that we were all inside of, which, if you ever play Once Human, do not join those community servers. There's no point. This person rage quit the game because he had convinced an entire group of people to basically give him access to their territories so he could have a giant hyper mega base to himself, and he was cheesing a lot of the original projected content that was a part of Once Human in Manibus War by himself. But when he got to the last day of Nightmare Mode, and he was not prepared for the fact that you had to fight every single boss, as well as preparatory work against the true final boss of the play mode, which was the Manibus Tentacle, and you needed to not only have specific specializations in order to make the ammunition necessary for it, but you could not cheese it. You had to have this particular gear, and if you didn't, it was dead in the water. He rage quit, got mad, lost his inspiration, because his inspiration to play was about harassing me, not about actually experiencing the video game, and neither was theirs. Yep. They didn't build a community. Their community was harass single-player Carl Online, and when they couldn't do that anymore, without being seen as the assholes they were, because they could no longer lie about it live on air, they left the game. But when a broadcaster gets antagonized and then antagonizes back against a headhunter group, well, as you can see here in the picture, it looks like Pirate Software getting bent over and ass-fucked by a big black fucking cock. But I obviously censored with the demonetized logo, because this is the entire gaming community taking their frustrations out on his butthole. Because every time he says something, it only seeks to make himself look stupid. And then he goes on the internet and he lies about it. Kind of like how he lied about off-brand games and being claimed that he was being massively review-bombed. No, it was people review-bombing his own game Heartbound. They weren't attacking Breakfast of Champions. He was making shit up. He was trying to save face. And now he gets to croak and seethe and cry about it while Ross goes onto stage to the EU Parliament.
Not even just that. Ludwig even said, like, there was no review bombing whatsoever. And Pirate literally had to be like, well, people were like giving it positive reviews and like in droves, And it's like, well, yeah, but that's not like a review bomb. That's just them talking about the game and liking it. Like, even, like, all the people that would have been behind him or whatever is the fence sitter Ludwig, or sorry, Jellywig.
Oh.
But no, even, like, a bunch of people from Off-Brand Gaming had to come out and say, like, there was no review bomb. Stop, like, he's lying. If you want to check out the game, by all means, do it yourself, you know? We had to let him go because he is a PR nightmare. Like, they had to admit it. He was.
Yeah. Like, for every single person...
Right.
Yeah, for every single person who wasn't Jason Thor Hall, even his own father, it's like, I can't protect my son from his stupidity and his big fucking fat mouth. Hell, there were clips of Thor on camera with his father saying, "You didn't wish me happy birthday." And Thor trying to argue with him, saying, "Yes, I did. You're a fucking liar." And he's like, "No, you didn't. You told me happy birthday last year. You didn't say a single fucking thing to me. How dare you, son?" Jokingly, in his mind, of course. But for fucking Thor, he's sitting there on camera sweating fucking bullets, and he's like, oh no, I'm a horrible son! I'm a horrible son! And he's trying to play it off like it's a joke. But it's like...
Yeah, and from what I can tell, this is new stuff that Tricky Tom brought up, but like, he was talking to one of his viewers about like going homeless or whatever and living out in his car. It seemed like he was homeless. From what I'm thinking is, he just didn't ever take accountability for any action that he had, and will blame it on something else. And it seems like that's the thing with his brother, by the way, because even his dad mentioned you or your brother, meaning both of them had this same problem.
Mm-hmm.
That like Turkey was asking, well, if his dad's like such a millionaire, couldn't like he just live at home or whatever? Well, it seems like there was probably some in-house drama that, you know, it's family drama, don't want to get into it on their own personal thing, but it seems like it's his actions leading to him being homeless at one point and him developing all of his weird fucking whatever. Do we really want to go on the what was that like life simulator game that he was a part of, Second Life, right?
Yes.
Like that just alludes to like, to me at least, saying he wants to be the center of attention while also never taking accountability for negative actions he takes.
No. He wants to be seen, but he doesn't want to be associated with the problems that require him being seen and heard. Because that would put him in a position where he has to take responsibility for the successes as well as the failures, like a regular business leader would. But he is unwilling to really connect outside of the superficial. Everything is very, very meticulously put together for his image. And you could say every content creator has that, but realistically, this is me who's talking. Do you think I give a fuck outside of the, you have indemned my name and now I'm going to fuck you in the ass for it? No, I do not. None of the pompous circumstance around my personality has ever been a part of my career. The only thing that I have ever taken chagrin with is when I tried to have a heart-to-heart with somebody, and they basically lied to my face and then went behind my back and started gossiping and rumoring about me and putting me down. That has only been the only time in existence that I have crashed out. And it has nothing to do with, oh, you can't take criticism. It's that this person is they're directly killing my business. They're directly bad-mouthing me and attempting to stop me from being able to do the thing that I want to do as a job for the rest of my life. For my career, for the rest of my life. I cannot tolerate that. If that person is hiding in my fucking audience like a snake, I will rope them out like a goddamn like a goddamn weed, and I will put them on display. Because unfortunately, we live in that kind of era where if I don't address it directly, people will say that I'm either allowing it, that I'm stupid, or that I'm completely dumb and don't know how to address anything. So, I had to do that to the Birdman fans. Why? Because the Birdman fans are fucking lying. I need to put them on spot, I need to make it aware, I need to bring it to people's attention, because if I don't say something about it, they'll be allowed to lie about me forever. And if I can't say anything about it, because big bank, take little bank, Anthony Edward West gets to say that I'm just a Doxoflex clone. And so he gets to legitimize his harassment against me. Because, look, how can you as a black man, single player Carl, tell another black man that he can't harass somebody? For reasons that have no justification. Because allegedly what we do now, just like how the Quartering is choosing to attack the King of Casino, Andy, and Ash directly because he can't take the fucking hot Bance that he didn't have to inject with because he didn't have to tell people about his fucking open marriage. Suddenly, over here, we believe that we can send somebody lawsuit information and threaten them with a lawsuit because you don't like them criticizing you and paraphrasing your words when directly on your own broadcast, your words basically say, well, I believe that a person should be ostracized from communities, but I wouldn't kill them. Killing them is bad. We can't go that far. That's not within the justification of what we should do in the law. Really? So you believe that ruining someone's life financially is completely on the table? You should be allowed to do that. But nah, I don't want to kill him. I want him to suffer while he has nothing to his name, as I took all of his money. Because how dare you criticize me for being a jackass on the internet?
Yeah, it's really funny, the whole, like, start of his career. So he was a really small MTG guy. Like, I don't know how many views he would get, but what really started his career is him getting banned from an event because he took a photo of someone without their consent at a thing that literally said in their rules, you cannot take photos without people's consent, and refused to take it down. That is what started his career. And because of that, it truly, like, showed, like, himself to the world, that he is just a narcissist that will never take any accountability for any action he has. Because he went on to say that they're woke, liberal assholes or whatever, when literally that's not what happened. It was he broke the rules at an event. The person did not want their photo out on there. Like, it was literally someone's girlfriend. That's, like, all it was. Like she was only there because after the event, they were going to go out to eat that night, and she had nothing else to do. That was it. And she did not want to be on his Twitter. She did not want to be anywhere. And sure, like, the MTG space or whatever is not that big at the beginning of, like, 2014 when it happened. So obviously people in the MTG space knew of Jeremy, but because that's what started his, like, career, was that oh, I got canceled from the woke liberal mob. It's like, dude, fuck off. You did not. You broke the rules. Shut up.
Uh-huh.
And also, I do agree with him saying that don't harass a man's wife or whatever, or people not involved in this. But because it's from him and he mentioned it, and that his wife's actually open about being on the internet sometimes, yeah, no, you can't say that. I agree with the message, but you specifically cannot take those words.
Mm-hmm. It just rings hollow.
Yeah, it's hollow. Agree with the message, because at the end of the day, that's just kind of scummy. Because, like, imagine you get haters go after your wife. Like, that's dumb.
Oh.
Like, fuck off.
I don't have to imagine that. The comments that people have made about me, and that they then tried to make about Star, and then tried to make about Zulian, should he be in any of the pictures that I demonstrate, the level of, they went band for band, as they attempted to call me an incel, and then they now claim, well, look at how upset you get. It's why I keep bringing up that December 6th debate. That is exactly the microcosm of what online engagement is now. They will keep attacking until you give them a reaction, and then they will criticize you for the reaction. It's why people said, oh my god, it's so much better to be on X and / Twitter, because they no longer have the ability to go through people's likes and troll through their likes looking for things to embarrass them about. Which brings me up to the thing that we're going to end on. But it brings up the point of why I made in this post that I put out on the community post inside of the YouTube. I said on my post, when I made this fucking thing, that there are pieces of advice that I can give to people. I had said it inside of Dev's server, but I forwarded it to my server because it's just great advice to have. I'm going to read off of it verbatim. What I said was, there are only really 3 pieces of advice that I can give for Twitter or any social media app. Number 1, always get the original source content. Rip out the videos wherever the person posts it and where you can be able to find it. And source the content, so that the person cannot just claim that you're making shit up about what you're saying. Rip out videos and archive everything that you want to tweet about. It doesn't matter if it's an interpersonal message between people, it doesn't matter if it's a post that's being made by a company, it doesn't matter if it's a screen grab of somebody's comment that you then repost to your own thread before you commented it. Make an archive of everything the fuck that you saw, the way that you saw it, so that if a person tries to use something like the edit post, they can't say, "Nuh-uh, that's not what I said," because you have an original VOD of what was there versus what was edited. Number 2, block any and all people liberally who intentionally are bad faith and are pests that demand your attention and then play victim when they get it. They are crybullies. They are wasting your time, and they thrive off of wasting your time because they want to drum up the attention so they can act like they are a bigger fish than they actually are. This is the way of people like that of the Tactical Templar and Anthony Gramuccia, and obviously Otterly Noah, who came up in content literally last night and the other night. Kano Flex, friend of the channel, ended up doing a debate against Anthony Gramuccia, dealing with Otterly Noah's arguments. And it was the case that he did exactly the things that I've talked about on the channel. Dishonest, used his audience as a filibuster and as a cudgel, and then said that he was dogshit retarded and didn't know what he was talking about, despite the fact that it then got covered by EFAP, and EFAP legitimized the points being made by KanoFlex. They mentioned him live on the channel, or live on their content, and he spoke about that in my DMs, and I asked him for the link. I posted that inside of Printing Press Express. And then finally, always assume that retweets and favorites are not complete endorsements, but are instead the person saying, "I can see the point that this person is trying to make. I agree with some of this." If you follow these pieces of advice and you make use of filtering tools, you're going to have an easier experience online as a regular nigga. 100%. Because I once got into a conversation with a anti-dev fallen fan who specifically likes to harass dev. And it was the case that this person was just making up like it was entirely impossible for him to avoid Devin. So every single time he saw Devin online, he would just attack him. And I'm like, "Oh, really? Is that what you need to do?" Well, let me tell you exactly how you can solve the problem. They do not want the solution. They are the meme. They do not want a solution. They want to be mad.
Yeah.
And when I broke it down to them, he's like, "Oh, no, I know how to do it. I just want to be able to attack him because I find it funny. Lol. I don't really care." Yes, the fuck you do. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't take all that energy to focus it and direct it towards him while writing the post. You took the time to write the tweet. It's just like people saying, "Oh, I don't care about this game, I'll throw the match." Nigga, I will log out on you live on camera. You spend all that time playing the account, playing the character, being a one-trick pony, playing the account till account level 30, whatever the account level needs to be in order to go into a ranked queue. Then you sat into a ranked queue. You popped the queue. You selected your character. You then sat down for this match. And then you decided to say, "If you don't do what I want, I'm gonna fucking feed." No, you care infinitely more than I do. You care infinitely more than most people do. Many of you that do this. And you know that you care. You just say you don't care for this because you want to antagonize the person and make them miserable. Unfortunately, you're locked in here with me. I'm not locked in here with you. Understanding that I can just ignore you is great. Because anybody can do that. Any content creator can do that. It's easy. You just block them and they're gone. It's not the Steve Shives method. There is no pride in, "Haha, I got you to block me," unless the person prides themselves on being openly communicative. Because I remember when I used to be, I used to agonize over, "Oh, I want this person to be able to have the right to say what they want to say. I want to hear their opinion." And there are some levels in which I still want to hear certain people's opinions, but I'm not getting everybody the opinion. I'm not getting everybody the chance to talk. Because some of these niggas are retarded, and they don't have anything to tell me. And they don't have anything to say. It's hard to say, but that is the case. Some people don't deserve to have a fucking microphone. They don't. They don't have anything of value to tell you. They don't have anything they can tell you about it. And when they try to give you information, they act as though that counters the thing that you're talking about. It's the erudite pop quiz method, where they gotta tell you something that's very important. It is the core idea behind the reason I say Lemon Duck keeps showing his penis. Because the name Lemon Duck is actually a type of troll that specializes in this. Either attention grabbing, attention seeking, or attention hoarding. Tell me, they bring themselves to you, and they sea lion. All I wanted to do was to have a conversation, but you won't listen to me. And then they jabber about nothing of value. If you tell them to shut the fuck up, they play victim, and then start using a Mott and Bailey to justify why you need to allow their opinion to exist. So, when you and I are being held in conversation about a person telling us that we have the wrong opinion about art, for example, or that same person holds other people hostage in a conversation where he's upset about what I used to do in my past as a way to put food on my table. What he's talking about the balkanization of the government and of the United States as a union, and that he finds it more apparent that he would possibly cause people to experience the the entire setting of Nocturne in the Vortex world versus the idea that there are people out there with agendas that would rather see intelligent men and women be a part of the world, but the way in which they choose to teach them how to move through the world is the same way a person would be taught how to be a cutthroat shark in a Fortune 500 business, is objectionable to him, but doesn't strike as strange to anybody else but him. Just because I need to know. I have to have the conversation. I need to know. But at no point in time does he hear the words coming out of his mouth. Well, of course, I find it objectionable that he used to do porn, but what about these things that will cause people to scream and die at night because they no longer have a government that they can trust? Because there's people shooting at them all the time in Chaos World. It's fucking backwards. Now, mind you, these rules of engagement that I'm offering to you all, they do not work if you're a creator. Not completely. You have to change your attitude and your rules of engagement if you use social media as a part of your business. If you don't use social media as a content creator, and not an influencer, a content creator, you actually make things. You don't have to take any of this advice. You can block who you want, you can talk to who you want, you can freely do whatever the fuck you want, you can browse for porn on your timeline. Fucking world is your oyster. But if you're a creator, I suggest taking these 3 methodologies. I did see that. You can take these methodologies and you can use them to be able to keep yourself safe online. Because some of these people are not worth having conversations with. They are deserving of a block and a ban. They are annoying as fuck. They will always be annoying as fuck. There is never not a time where they will not be annoying as fuck. And you have to accept that for a lot of them, and I do mean a lot of them, they don't have anything else going on in their lives. They do not. They don't have anything else going on in their lives. This is all they have. And as that might be sad, that does not remove us from the responsibility of having to deal with it everywhere else. So if I have to deal with that kind of shit when it comes to community, yes, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to talk through it. It's going inside of the Turtle Wow thing. You can only be able to do so fucking much and be able to make sure that people can have things work off of how well you're willing to work with other people so that they do not have these problems at all in all of the other places where this is relevant. It is the case that in a lot of people's minds, it is that problem. But in this venture, assuming it goes somewhere, even if it doesn't, hey, it was a fun thing to do for a month before we got back to regular business as usual. You can socialize with literal famous people and still be a normal person, having fun. And you can find a way to make a thing for yourself where if you're like me, who started doing content creation because you got bored of your favorite creators never being online and never being available, you can make something of yourself. But you gotta have an eye for the knack of this shit. And if you've comp trolled and you've had to keep people escapistically clean for conversations as I do, it gets really tiring really fucking fast. I don't have a lot of patience any fucking more. The first 10 years of my career, the first 10 years of Carl lore was me having patience. I have been fucked with, I have been backstabbed, I have been betrayed, I have been lied about, I have been antagonized, I have had people do entire job roles of trying to destroy me and what I stand for without ever interacting or interfacing with me because of the word of somebody fucking else. I'm done. I'm so fucking done. And then after that debate on the 6th, I stopped giving mercy. I'm no longer doing mercy. The only people who deserve mercy are the people who are willing to be reasonable. If they don't be reasonable, I am dragging you through the door of my arguments. I am dragging you through the points of my logic. I am making you understand that you are either out of fucking touch or that you are unwilling to actually accept that you do not live in the real world with the rest of us. Because I got one foot in the world of content creation and influence. I got another world in the life that I live. And I am Eminem. I am Marshall Mathers III. Failure is not a fucking option for me. This is my life. You're not gonna play with my fucking life like this shit is a goddamn game. No, not anymore. Tolerating it, biting my tongue, doesn't work. Because if I'm small and nobody hears my struggle, who's going to tell my story? And if it then works out that somebody's able to fuck me over, and I suffer a die-a-fat cascade, as people tried to do to me before, what's my recourse? Who's going to help? Who's going to allow me to have the chance to say my piece? So this is what happens now. It's unfortunate. I don't like the fact that there are some people that still continue to behave this way. But this is how people are. It is so annoying that this is how the internet's become. But it's what people have done.
Mm-hmm. Are you putting the
Yes.
installation?
Yes.
Okay.
I just pinged everybody in the server about it.
Okay. Just making sure. Yeah.
So, as it is on the subject matter of Turtle WoW, it is an opportunity for everybody to get to play it if they can, and find time to play it when they can, to associate with both me and also other people, and if Dev takes my advice, other creators, as well as Dev himself. Who knows? He's not going to be streaming it, at least this night, but I'm going to be trying to stream it as much as I can, and wind up and wind down on the particular content we have. Soon we will be saying away, yes, it's going to be open for the next month, and then it's going to close at some point. We will soon be saying goodbye to Marathon, as after they have sponsored go away, there will probably be nothing keeping me from playing the game. Certainly, it's not going to be a full 60 months, but bro, trust me, I've milked it for a month and a half. I think I've done my due diligence, okay? I did more than fucking Mr. Grifter himself, okay? I did more than Smash JT. I think I've earned my fucking rest from the topic. I've done the work, I've done the tune-ins, I did the research. As for everything else, we'll see what happens on the interim, because there's no major updates for any of the games that I play. There are a bunch of single-player games that are out right now for people to play. I'm playing Sol Sesto a lot. I've unlocked a couple of things in there that I can't spoil because it's part of the shit of the game. Pragmata is out for people who want to play it. There's a bunch of other games that came out and had updates for people who want to play it. Lots of video games that are out there right now for people to try. And then, whenever I get bored, I do open up a server for Don't Starve Together that is separate from the ones that I'm using as a part of the Discord gaming night. Usually when I have insomnia. And I will sit there for 3 to 6 hours playing it. Probably will reduce that because now it will be directed towards Turtle WoW. But find the time to play with each other, find the time to talk to each other, tell people about things. And if you like what has been happening here and you like the fatness that is on your screen, please consider giving a humble donation to all places where Carl and Carl-related accessories can be sold. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your grandma, tell her to come wearing the black leather. And we will see you again, same Carl time, same Carl channel. Assuming that any of you don't have the opportunity to do so, please consider tuning into the live streams and showing your support when we are live playing it, and try to voice your opinion if you can, and put $1 in the hat if you feel so likely to do so. There are going to be versus chats that are going to be coming up soon, including the one that I owe Jack because I was not able to get onto the Comey Gagnon topic that he wanted. There will be other ones as well. I will be slotting in the Julian Michaels surrounded debate at some point. I'll see if Jay wants to co-watch that one with me. There'll be other content as well. Other collaborative efforts in the future. Not sure about. Have to see it. Have to look into it. I'm going to be looking into if I can ask Sheepsidian for an opportunity to talk to Hypnotic and see if I can do something about possibly having a guest spot on Saturday Night Hypnosis if it is relevant for a story, for the story to be covered within a month or so. Don't know what story it will be. I'm just going to try to talk to him about it and see if we can get something done. And from there, that's all I got. Thank y'all for watching. I will see y'all again tomorrow.